we're back, folks, for another episode of Semi Perfect, brought to you by Triggering Chaos.
How do we? How are we brought to by ourselves? Isn't it presented by?
Well, technically we're Triggering Chaos, so it's still brought to you by us.
All right, I suppose that how things work. But
Look, bring it up with the giant robot over there.
no, no, I'm good.
So, after the whole issue with Berserk, we thought we'd bring you something a little more family friendly. Wait, am I reading the right script here?
So this is a series about terrorism.
That's why I'm double checking. I thought we were doing something family friendly.
No, we'll get to the family-friendly Gundam eventually. But no, this is Mobile Suit Gundam 00.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm M. That's my co-host Soul. Let's get talking about one of my personal favorite animes in general, and definitely one of my top Gundams. You'll quickly find out about me that Gundam is very important when it comes to anime. It is
Mm-hmm.
the be all end all for mecha shows I judge them to.
Much like
And
how I judge everything by all RPGs by Chrono Trigger.
mhm,
It's kind of a
pretty,
standard for me. Much like
yeah,
Gundam is a standard for M.
yeah. This Gundam has a lot of varieties. It's even how I can judge Gundam is a real robot series, which is robots designed as if they were made by humans in the real world with real purposes, which is war usually because mankind's very good at making, hey, I've invented a new thing. How can I use it to kill my neighbor?
And let's be honest, some of it is a little bit more sci-fi because
Yeah, this is also my um, sci-fi epics. These are my space operas. I didn't watch Star Wars as a kid. I watched Gundam as a kid. I didn't see Star Wars until I was already a well-established Gundam fan. And yeah, Gundam is where I think of, oh yeah, energy swords are cool. Yeah, lasers are great. Those sneaky little things. But
so
yes, and we weren't joking. This series is about a group of terrorist organization referred to as Celestial Being.
bear in mind this will be talking about a wide range of some terrorism acts.
And
So
also
heads up.
some nasty things that did happen to peoples in the name of their government and better of mankind and or hallelujah.
Yeah. Once again, this kind of shows both sides of war, essentially.
Yeah, let's just get it out here. The main Gundam series, not counting the Build franchise, will tell you over and over again that war is definitely the worst thing mankind has ever created.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
pretty much, yeah, everything that's really bad you can almost trace to, yeah, that's also a result of war. Yeah, that's also a result of war.
Now, to be perfectly fair, this is also focuses more on lack of better terminologies, child soldiers.
Yeah, Gundam's very known for its child soldiers, and they don't shy away from what happens to child soldiers.
No,
Everything from the massive PTSD to just the body, just
yeah.
the body counts. So, Gundam 00 is a special series. It was originally going to be a remake of the original, but during the pre-production, they decided, let's go our own way. So there are some things that carried over from the first Gundam brought to this thing. But Gundam started back in the 70s with a man named Tomino, who his nickname is Kill 'em all Tomino. Yeah, his main characters don't often live through his
Yeah, I
stories.
would say that's a hell of a nickname to have.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Gundam is less dark than Berserk
I'm not sure if I want to be his friend or his enemy.
by a wide. Well, I'm just gonna say this: one of his best friends had a heart attack working on the original Gundam. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, Gundam is a long series of franchises, and they're usually tied to different eras. The UC era is the first Gundams that goes on for hundreds of years. This is the Anno Domino side of Gundam. This is the just there's just 50 episodes of the series. You don't need to watch any previous Gundam. I think Double O is the best way to introduce non-Gundam fans to Gundam.
Yeah, as well as it is developed, I will say some in a lot of ways the original Gundam series is a bit aged.
It's
Not
from the
terribly,
70s.
but if you're not fully into it, I can see we could lose interest.
Mm. The Anno Domino timeline is the closest to our world. It has a lot of the same problems we are facing today, such as wars in the Middle East, revolutions, stuff that is still somewhat relevant to our real world, especially terrorism.
And the concerns and causes of said acts.
Mhm. And the villains, while at the end are maniacal monsters, a lot of the early stuff is realistic problems.
Yeah, that's
Governments,
one of the things I think Gundam does best and worse at times. Is it starts out
yes,
strongly with a broad spectrum, but sometimes
mhm,
it funnels all that evil into the evil twirling mustache man.
yes. It kind of needs to do that at times for there to be a satisfying ending,
Yeah.
but those also don't always feel very satisfying. See the entire Seed
Yeah,
franchise.
it's more of a question of process for me.
Mhm.
Gundam 00 gets away with it slightly because of the story that we'll talk about in a moment.
Yes.
Um, and then there's certain other series that I can't think of at the moment, but as I mentioned, Seed, which I have not finished the entire thing of Seed, but I can see where it's kind of
Yeah.
not hitting the mark with it.
No. Now, that's not to say if you like Seed, poo-poo on you. I mean, there are things to like about Seed, and there are things to dislike about Double O. If you enjoy Seed, please keep enjoying it.
I will say I do
Just,
like the suits.
I like the suits, but I don't like the suits next to each other. We'll talk about that when we reduce Seed.
Mm-hmm. But
We don't have that problem in this series, but Gundam Double O, let's
let's
introduce our
let's
main
get into
character.
it now.
Yeah. This is Soren Ebren, or as he's later known in the story series, Setsuna F. Seye. That's his code name for the Celestial Being group. Soren is a little Muslim boy who got tricked by a madman into joining a kind of crazy child soldier cult.
Yeah, and I
To join the organization, he had to prove his worth to God by killing the unbelievers that were his parents.
yeah, we'll talk about
Yeah,
that guy in a few minutes. But
yeah. Again, that's really dark. It is also kind of some people do see it as kind of looking down on Muslims, seeing them all as evil. I don't see it as that. I just see it as poor kid got taken massive advantage of by a crazed madman.
yeah, side note, wasn't Setsuna also the youngest person in a Gundam series to kill someone?
And he is the youngest one to kill without a machine, and for a while he was the youngest killer in Gundam.
Because I think the second youngest was Mikazuki.
Yeah, Mikazuki. This Setsuna killed his parents at age 10.
Mm.
Mikazuki doesn't kill, I think, until he's like 11 or 12. Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans.
And that wasn't even his parents.
No, he's an orphan boy. Soren had a loving family, but the madman brainwashed. That's the thing. I see it more as a danger of cults than I do see it as a danger of Muslim religion.
Mm-hmm.
He twisted their religion, twisted a poor innocent boy, and Setsuna then grew up on the battlefield for he's never left the battlefield since age 10. It's not until like 14 that he finally leaves this group of child soldiers who the madman drags not only through Middle Eastern conflicts but to Darius, because the guy in charge is a mercenary
Yeah,
who,
his war is his bread and butter and how he gets money.
in
So
fact, it's also how he gets his jollies.
yeah,
And
but
he drags these kids into wherever he wants. He brings some of them to Ireland to make them suicide bombers to keep the Irish Revolution up, which leads to one of the other characters we talk about why he joins Celestial Being.
mm-hmm.
But this is Setsuna at age 16 when he joins the organization fully,
Mm-hmm.
and he has joined for the sole purpose of what all members of Celestial Being do: to cut out war. Yeah, they're a terrorist organization that's goal is to attack anyone in fighting, attack both sides to make them stop. They are completely aware of the hypocrisy they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, every member of Celestial Being is either so sick of war because they've had terrible lives, or just so dead to the world, like the world is doomed unless we stop wars, that they'll do the hypocrisy. They don't care.
Yeah,
And I
it's
do
kind of
that's
a how do I want to put this? Because as you said, they at least openly admit to hypocrisy. I mean, just because
mhm.
they admit to it doesn't mean it doesn't change the fact that it is
No,
open
no.
hypocrisy.
Yeah,
That's
they're
blatant.
not. That's blatant.
But
It, but at the same time, the old adage of about a knife and peace. Is I forget it now. It's gonna bug me.
Uh, I don't know the knife and peas, but I know this. I know the one talk softly but carry a big stick.
Yes, and Lester
They,
Ring is the big stick.
yeah, they have a really big stick. We'll
Yeah,
talk about that later.
yeah. Setsuna is our main character. We follow him
Hmm.
for the longest. That's him near the end of the series where he's about 21.
Yeah, just for a side note, real quick, this takes place in first season when he's 16, and then 5 years later, season two, I
That is
believe.
how math works.
No, I wasn't sure it was 4 or 5 years.
No, it's the series starts in the year 82307. The second season is 2312.
Okay,
So that is how math works. So good for you.
I get a cookie.
Not for me though. I don't have any cookies. I ate them all.
I get karma kisses.
Yeah, Setsuna is also a very interesting character. He is incredibly monotoned. He is disillusioned with his god because, well, he was kept expecting miracles of the battlefield, and all of his friends ended up dead. So he full-heartedly commits to the idea of being a Gundam pilot to the point where he wishes
There's
to be a Gundam. He sees the idea of a Gundam not as a weapon, but as the destruction of war. So he keeps saying, I am Gundam for the first few episodes because he's doing it. He's ending conflicts.
well, there's also one other thing to that.
Mm.
When he was young and still a child soldier, a Gundam saved his life, and
It's the
he.
first miracle he ever saw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was in the middle of the battlefield. All of his friends were being shot at. He's having a crisis of faith during that whole conflict, and finally, when he says there is no God, life is just meaningless, pointless, the Gundam shows up.
And pretty much saves his life. So
Yeah. So
kind of
our
also this showing that
yeah,
miracles are what you believe in.
hmm and he reaches out and becomes what he believes in, and I can respect that,
That's
even if he is kind of crazy sounding at first
yeah,
episode.
but again, that's also kind of how religion works.
In a sense, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, what is religion without belief?
Mm, traditions.
Fair enough.
So this is our next character, codenamed Lock-on Stratus.
I like that code name, by the way.
Oh my goodness, it's also one of those names that basically describes exactly what he is. He's the team's pilot, but this is Neil Delandy. Delandy. He is a little Irish boy who, yeah, sets in his group of friends, blew up his family, his
That'd be the
mother,
bestest
his
of friends.
father, his little sister, all died. Now they don't know each other at this point. They're just two random kids. But Lock-on is essentially the team dad of the four pilots. He's the oldest, he's the calmest, he's the most rational, and he's the one who has the big picture, which is fitting of a sniper character. Lock-on is also my favorite character of the series. And also here's his little piloting buddy, Haro.
Haro, Haro.
Um, think of Haro's as what if R2, only cuter. And no, for that one guy who got into an argument with me once, the BB-8 is not what the Haro is based off. Haros are older than the BB-8.
So maybe the
They're almost
BB-8's based off of Haru.
probably I would say that, but I wouldn't say that because they act very differently and they have very different mechanics.
Doesn't
But
the
they are
Haru
both
also have like armed legs tucked inside of its round ball?
yes. Not all Haros do, depending on the franchise.
Hmm.
Haros are different in each franchise, but Haro is his co-pilot. While he's busy sniping, obviously you need anyone who knows anything about sniping, you require a spotter. Haro is his spotter. It also can, if someone's about to attack his mobile suit, move the mobile suit while he's busy trying to shoot.
Does it
Because if
also
you,
able to control the shield things?
yeah, later on it can upgrade for that.
Okay.
So as you can see right now, he's completely devoted himself to sniping with his machine.
I will say this one I do love this system for his sniping,
Mm-hmm.
rather than trying
Some
to
people,
use the screen and
yeah,
awkward controls. I'm sure.
there's a specialized camera just for the sniping lens, so they have it hooked up to something completely different, something a actual trained sniper would be used to. See, even though he lost his parents in an act of terrorism, Lock-on really has devoted himself to the cause of ending conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what the sniper scope looks like. But the thing is, he's more right-eye dominant. We'll talk about what happened here, but essentially, at one point he lost his right eye and had to use his left for a few episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the stuff was going on down, and despite having the technology, they just didn't have the time to
Yeah.
regenerate his eye.
Yeah, it led to Lakan's unfortunate death at the end of season one. And it
Hmm.
also is the saddest moment I can think of from all the Gundam I've seen. I haven't watched every Gundam series, but I was sobbing my eyes out. And the worst part is he left the cockpit in order to kill somebody, and Haru was left behind asking where he is as he drifts through space dead. Yeah, if you didn't think a little monotone robot could make you cry, well, Haru will make you cry.
And
If you're
make
not
you
already balls out for Lakan's death,
and to
which
sprinkle some salt in the wound. He's a ghost.
that's not really salt in the wound. That's more of, I don't know. Anyway, but even in the death, Lakan's dying speech is really good in my opinion.
Hmm. Mostly it's just Setsuna just seeing images and
Yeah, only two people really see the ghost of Lakan, so it's more believed that this is just them picturing what he would say in the situation because he is that much of a mentor to two Gundam pilots,
hmm
maybe more than one. But anyway, here's our next character, Subject 57.
otherwise known as Alleluia.
Alleluia Haptism. He's called Subject 57 because I don't know how, but he ended up in a lab for children super soldiers
I
where they,
think there's one or two explanations for that.
yeah, he was either bred for this or just taken from an orphanage.
I'm betting on the orphanage.
I'm betting on the bred for.
I think that's another character that was bred for this. I think he was a taken in. Am I?
It's a possibility. Either
But
way, uh, he's been a child lab rat his entire
hmm
life. So yeah, he has superhuman reflexes, superhuman strength, and what is referred to as quantum brainwaves,
now
which
just
allows
to verify, he was not a child, not made into a super soldier by the celestial
was
being.
but one of the three main governments of the world.
Hmm. So they sort of rescued him, and he joined up with them. They did not
Yeah,
create him in that
no.
process.
Now Celestial Being has created things like that before. They're a little bit of a shady group too, but the main Gundam pilots are all pretty noble people.
Hmm.
His whole stick is, yeah, I grew up in hell. I don't want any other kid to grow up in hell. No government should have the right to make children weapons.
Yeah. Now the other thing about Alleluia, he's got a bit of a split personality.
Literally.
Yeah.
Now, like real, I forget the scientific term for it, his other personality is formed by trauma.
I'm gonna take a shot in the dark. Just I think it might be the one, but I could be completely wrong.
Hmm.
Is that schizophrenia?
No.
Okay, that's
If you've watched Moon Knight, they talk about it.
multiple personality syndrome.
Yeah, the actual scientific name for it, I forget what
Ah,
it's called.
so do
That's
I.
that's
But
that's the old name for it, but like other things we've updated, like it's no
okay,
longer shell shock. It's
might be from the
uh,
older shows I watched
yeah,
that I might have gotten that one from.
yeah.
But
Anyway, the side personality is named Hallelujah. Yes, it's Alleluia and Hallelujah. It does get very confusing,
yeah.
but one likes to look out of one eye, the other one likes to look at the other eye, so you can see with the reflection the eye the other one prefers to look out of.
Hmm.
And he has heterochromativity. One eye is different color than the other, so you can easily tell when one is controlled and the other.
Yeah. The other
Hallelujah is not a nice person.
no.
He is focused on one thing and one thing only, keeping them alive.
Yeah. From what I understood, and this happens a lot when people kind of break down in terrible situations and they have this multiple disorder. Usually, their survival instincts usually breaks off as a separate personality,
Mm.
and that's only so the person can kind of try to deal with the survivor's guilt.
Mhm.
Now,
Now,
how honestly true that is, I'm not a doctor or psychiatrist, so
there's some truth to it, but obviously with fiction you have to.
hmm
Well, you don't have to, but it often is futzed for the sake of making things a bit more entertaining. But Alleluia is a generally nice person, but he's described as a nice person who puts his views on other people. Like he says that no child should suffer like he did. Hallelujah points out that these kids don't know they're suffering. You're just putting your own trauma on top of them. Because there were some good moments in that organization. Not a lot, but Hallelujah has a point where he's basically like, you don't speak for these kids, they speak for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, one of the missions they do is blow up the lab that made them.
Yeah.
I yeah.
About that survivor skill.
Yeah, eventually a handful of the kids escaped from the lab in a spaceship. But the thing is, they're kids. They didn't take enough food or oxygen, and they were starving and running out of air. So,
Yeah.
how do you cut down on the use of oxygen?
Mm,
Hallelujah murdered all the other kids on the spaceship until they were rescued. We don't know how we handled the food shortage.
I'd
We'll
rather
leave
not
it at
know.
let's leave it at that.
So we'll move on from
Because
that.
because we're going right back into Berserk territory.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Here we have Hyria Arde, the final member of Celestial Beings, Gundam Meisters or Gundam pilots. He is the by the books one. They have a rule book they follow. They have a mission plan. He's the one with the stick up his ass.
Yeah, and for a
If
couple of good reasons.
if you so much as even threaten to go off script a tiny bit, he'll lock you in a room in the ship until you comply.
He
If
gets
you
better
do
about that.
if you do break the rules in season one, he wants to kill you.
That comes
Yeah,
up a lot.
yeah. Now, thanks to Lock-On, he ends up being given a reason to like
Hmm.
humanity.
And even 5 years later, he didn't change that much.
Design wise, no, he changes the least design wise.
Well, you see, there's
And
another reason for that. We'll get to later. I think we
I
should
mean, he
save
does
that.
he does change a little bit though.
Just a little.
Yeah, we find out at the end of season two that, well, not the end, but midway through season two, what Tierra's actual deal is. He's not human.
No,
He's an
he is
artificially
a.
artificially grown humanoid-like creature in a sense. He's non-gendered as well. His entire group of things don't have genders. They just identify as one. He picked male, except for
Um,
one mission where they had to go undercover.
yeah, there was one that had specific genders, but I think that was just for the sake of the mission. But
Yes, yes, well, they leave it vague on how much they have and how much they don't have.
well, to be fair, for that one, I think it was a lot more because we'll discuss
Yes,
the person that went with that later.
yes, but Pieria ends up being the one who grows the most personality-wise. He
Hmm.
starts off stick up his ass, ends up being friendly with the entire group, and term defrosted ice king really works for him.
Yeah.
It's really good thanks to Lock On. So
Now,
we'll talk
speaking
about the
of
fifth
lock
pilot.
on,
Oh, this is Lyle and his twin brother Neil. Yes, they pulled the identical twin brother shtick. I
to
do.
be fair,
Well,
they at least mentioned this before.
yeah, at one point, uh, Lock On 1, as these like to be called, went to visit his family grave and bumped into Lock On 2, who was not Lock On 2 at the time. He was Lyle. Neil and Lyle. Well, Neil is he's the older brother of the two. He's the more skilled one. He's the more infamous one in a sense. Lyle wants nothing to be like his twin brother. Unfortunately, he does have a lot of his brother's traits in terms of keen eyesight, which makes him a damn fine sniper too.
He's also the one that, between the two, felt like he held on the grudges the least.
Yeah, Lyle is able to let the past go. When he finds out, when Neil found out about Setsna's group being responsible for the death of his family, he almost killed Setsna.
Yeah.
Lyle finds out and just pretty much shrugs, goes, whatever. It sucks.
He is. I think he did feel somewhat upset by it, but he also was.
There's no point in killing you
He,
right
he
now.
knows it's not going to bring his parents or change anything at that point.
Even when he fights the guy who killed his brother, he actually gives him a chance to surrender, and that guy takes it only to turn around and try and kill uh, Lyle, so Lyle gets to kill him.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, he basically repeats everything his brother does, even with taking Haro. I do like the one scene where he asks Haro, "Hey, Haro, was there anything my brother did cool before he started a mission?" Targeted and firing, targeted and firing. All right then, lock on. Targeted and firing.
So, like any good group, you need someone that's good at tactics. I like these tactics. I'm not gonna lie.
They are, yeah. This is Miss Sumeragi Lee Noriega. That's
That is a
also her code
mouthful.
name. It's a Oh, boy, they just call her Sumeragi.
She is
She's
what's
what,
called a forecaster.
yeah, a tactical forecaster. She's
Mm-hmm.
the one who basically they get their mission objectives. She's the one who decides, okay, in order to get these objectives done, we'll have to go through this route, take down this sub objective, and they'll probably respond by sending the units from the east. So we'll have an ambush from a little bit further to the east. That's what her job is.
More or less just a really, really good tactical advisor. See the flow of
Yeah,
battle and
yeah. She can't like see the big picture of the entire organization, but she can see the one battle they're about to do, and maybe the responses around it.
kind of like forecasting the weather.
Yeah, that's why it's called tactical forecasting. Um, During a training mission, because she is former military, she ended up getting her fiance killed and a whole bunch of other troops killed in a bad exercise, and she became an alcoholic out of survivor's guilt.
Mm-hmm. One of the more understandable things I liked about this series.
Yeah, and they do not like glorify her alcoholism.
No, think like Tony Stark in the original comic books.
Yes, and she also does sober up by the end of the
Mm-hmm.
series. During season two, she's less flirty, less showy, and no longer an alcoholic.
But she cut her hair. Damn it!
Eh,
I think she looked better with long hair.
yeah, she is definitely one of the reasons why the fan base when Double O first came out referred to it as Gundam OO. Pretty first before they are designed character wise. It was the early 2000s of anime, and I can't hear Soul unfortunately. Technically, she still can't hear Soul.
Hello.
Okay, now I can hear Soul. That was
Okay.
weird.
Uh,
Hopefully that. Hopefully what you said was recorded.
but she is kind of the de facto leader of the group.
Yeah, she's the team mom, where Lock On One was the team dad.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of being the mom,
Oh yeah, the rest of the crew. This is Felt, one of the, as the TV trope page calls it, bridge bunnies.
was
She's in
she?
charge.
Good.
Felt's basically in charge of watching the Gundam's conditions, like saying this Gundam's been damaged. We have incoming troops from this side. Watch your
Mm-hmm.
back.
She's pretty
She's
much the
my
Watchman.
Yeah, she's my favorite of the Bridge Bunnies. I like her slightly more than Miss Sumeragi. I'm still kind of pissed that her and Stetson didn't get together.
I like this guy. He is the ship pilot.
He's also the backup Gundam pilot. This is Lassie.
He's kind of an all rounder when it comes to piloting things, but he's a better ship pilot.
Hmm. And I
Uh,
do like how that Double O does show there's a difference between piloting a giant robot and piloting a giant spaceship.
the ships are usually bigger.
Yeah, and they also don't turn as well.
Yeah. This is
And this,
Ian, the mechanic,
yeah, he's the guy who actually takes the designs and makes the Gundams and tests them and upgrades them on the field.
and has to understand everything going on so it runs properly.
Yeah, he is not the inventor of the Gundams. In fact, the Gundams were invented 200 years before he was born.
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
But even then, he has to at least understand everything going on, so in case anything
yeah,
gets damaged,
yeah.
he's able to repair it.
We didn't include it, but Ian's wife and daughter are also members of Celestial Being.
Mm-hmm.
They actually joined Celestial Being and had their daughter, so she grew up as a member of Celestial Being.
These are the Trinity siblings.
Also referred to as they ruin everything siblings.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're a non-official members of Celestial Beings. Somebody is partway through season one. Someone starts interfering with Celestial Beings missions, and one of the ways they interfere is by introducing the Trinity siblings. They
So,
use incomplete Gundams with highly
pseudo GM
radioactive.
drives.
We'll explain the GM drives later, but
Mm-hmm.
basically their weapons are radioactive and toxic. And rather than targeting like military bases, military fights, they target families of industrial complex owners.
Like, they're
So,
going to the point of just attacking a factory making ammunition.
mhm. going after the workers, whereas the Meisters attack military bases with only military operatives,
Mm-hmm.
actual military conflicts, actual uprisings, actual cultists. The things that are actually you look at them on paper and go, yeah, they're evil.
Now you might be wondering, you might bring up the question that if they're being a terrorist for peace, attacking the factory would make sense. No ammo, no war.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
disagree with that entirely.
so do I. Most people who work in a factory are doing so because, you know what I need for life? Food.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you have a
Shelter.
family.
Shelter's also good. Running water's also good. Yeah, I think I have bills to pay. Sucks that I do, but that factory over there gives really good paying jobs and health benefits.
Not to mention, there's also something else we'll discuss down the road with this series that I think would be important to have those ammunitions for, just in case.
Yes.
But
Regardless, these guys go for the secondary and tertiary uh, industrial complex, while the Meisters are literally only going after, hey, I enlisted in the military. I understand that I might have to kill somebody.
now,
And
if
even then, the pilots generally don't go for kill shots. Tyria does though. We'll explain why he does with his mobile suit later. But lock on, Hallelujah, Hallelujah also goes for kill shots,
yeah,
and Setsuna don't go for kill shots. They will
they
if they have
have,
to.
don't we're not gonna lie.
No, they have killed and they will kill. They will easily kill, but if they can just destroy the enemy weapon,
Mm-hmm.
that's enough to demoralize most people.
Yeah,
Also, if you're using a highly advanced military weapon, you shoot at a Gundam, it does nothing, and the Gundam just crushes your weapon. I think your response is to get out of your machine and run screaming, not to
now
get out of your machine and start shooting at them.
just to provide reference, the girl on the left, the redhead,
Nina.
decided while traveling with her brothers, hey, look, there are rich people over there that contribute to the war effort. They're just having a wedding. I'm gonna
Yeah,
shoot them.
happy. Uh, Anybody who survived also got terribly toxic conditions. So,
Yeah, that becomes important in a few moments, people.
mm,
So each one has kind of what I would call a pseudo Gundam for this
yeah,
series.
they look like Gundams. They're designed to look like Gundams, but they aren't made by celestial beings. That's the definition of Gundam. In this series is
Mm-hmm.
it's a celestial being machine. That's it.
Yeah,
Gundam can mean a lot of things in different series. Sometimes Gundam is just, hey, it's made out of this special material. That makes it a Gundam. Hey, it's a Gundam because I said so.
in a lot of series, I at least like that there's at least a category for why it's called a Gundam.
Mhm.
In this one, it's usually anything made by celestial being with a GN drive. We'll discuss that later.
Yeah,
And in Iron Blooded, it was any of the old machines from the old war.
with a specific type of frame referred
Mm-hmm.
to as the Gundam frame. In Gundam Wing, it's anything made of Gundanium alloy.
Wasn't that also the original series, the Gundam Alloy?
No, they had a different Gundam material for. Uh, I forget what it's called in the original Gundam, but yes, it's essentially why the first Gundam was called that, but everything else is in that series. If it has a head like a Gundam, it makes it a Gundam
Mm-hmm.
in the UC series. In
But
Seed, it's anything that runs on two different operating systems that are that if you spell them out, make spell Gundam.
mm-hmm. So moving on from these three colossal screw ups.
Side note: I want to punch all three of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one on the right I want to shoot. The one in the middle I want to punch then shoot, and the one on the left I'll just shoot.
I didn't say I would stop punching them. We've already talked about Haros, but I fucking love Haros.
And these are the
Like,
ones that I always remember. They have the hands inside those circles on the side.
yes, actually, these ones don't. These ones just have the little circles on top will flap open, allowing them to move in space.
Now,
These
because I
ones
remember
don't.
some of these are used for repairs.
Yes, they actually dock into special little robots, and the robots fly them around for repairs.
Maybe that's where I'm thinking the arms from.
Yeah, the original ARM ones are from the first Gundam series from the 70s. They also had feet in the original Gundam series. This one, I think, just has the flapping ears, and the mouth like thing can open up, and there's like a keypad inside, I
Yeah,
believe.
because this is the one that Lock On usually
Or
uses.
is that Seed? I forget.
I think that's Seed, but it really doesn't matter. They're general purpose AIs
Yeah,
that hang around and help out.
yeah. They have personality quirks. They're known for saying "haro haro" instead of "hello hello." They
And
also
their
tend to
eyes light up, blink when they talk, and
they like to repeat themselves. No problem, no problem, kind of thing. they're generally kind of cute. We didn't show this, but the Trinity siblings have their own Haro, and it bullies the poor little orange one who just thinks it's
Oh
his big
yeah, it's
brother.
got the evil eyes. I kind of like.
Yeah, it has a deeper voice, meaner sass to it. It's just mean to poor Haro. Yes, they all call themselves Haros. Like, who are you? I'm Haro.
It's like
Never heard of
Tamagotchi
Haro.
on steroids.
Yeah, I generally like the Haros slightly more than I like the droids from Star
I like
Wars.
it when there's only one. You get too many together, it gives me a
It,
headache.
I can understand that. I would be happy with a room full of Haros, but
Oh
I
my
am
god, I
also.
think I would just walk out.
It's a good way to keep people out of from bothering me.
Fair point.
Yeah. So this is where they get Celestial Being gets their missions from.
This is one giant supercomputer.
It's a quantum computer, and by quantum computer I mean it's quantum computing through all computers around the entire world. This is Veda, Veda,
Mm-hmm.
which the original translations for the subs did call it Vader, which the idea of Darth Vader commanding Gundams is terrifying. Even though, side note, a Gundam can fly circles around a TIE fighter.
What if we turn a TIE fighter into a Gundam?
That's what I wanted from the Star Wars crossover series, but instead it just turned into Darth Vader.
But
But yeah,
there is
Veda
one
was
important question, Em.
yes,
Can it play Crisis and Final Fantasy 14 1.0?
not at the same time. One at a time though.
Okay, good enough. That means it is a supercomputer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it has to be realistic, Soul.
True.
So
But
Veda was designed 200 years ago and has been planning celestial beings missions the entire time, figuring out when is the best time for the Gundams to be introduced to the world, to face the world, and to change the world for the better.
and also find the right pilots according to
Yes, yes,
Veda's
yeah. Veda,
descriptions.
and Veda also operates the Gundam's hardware, the software, the ship's software, uh, does the encoded messages. Veda's basically their hand wave for a lot of things.
Yeah, which is one
We
of the things
find,
that Gundam gets away with.
yeah, considering this is just one of Veda's nodes, and you can see the humanoid shape standing above it.
Right up here.
Yeah, and considering Veda was designed 200 years ago, and I'm 100% sure that the Haros have been integrating new technology into it so that it can stay advanced. So it's just not like 50 years ago the room size computers we had back then. Your calculator is smarter than them, let alone your smartphone. So yeah, Veda is ridiculously intelligent computer.
Now you might be thinking, who made all this?
This is Eolia Schenberg, the brilliant mind 200 years before Double O, who foresaw mankind's destruction. So he's like, I'm gonna fix this.
He's also the man that Lucius jealous of.
Yeah, this is definitely the smartest character I can think of in Gundam in Sunrise. I can. It requires. You've heard the term Gigabrain. Um, Gigabrain might be the kind of people who write his crossword puzzles for the
He's a
morning.
terror brain.
I would actually say he's a Yoda brain, if you know how much of a Yoda bite
Yeah,
is.
but I would just think terror might be easier for people to understand.
Fair enough. He is completely aware of the hypocrisy of his organization, but he does not care. He is preparing to make sure mankind can survive another few thousand years for, as he likes to put it, the dialogues yet to come. He's the guy who designed the Gundams, the GN drives, Veda. He was a brilliant scientist who had loads and loads of money because of his patented ideas and put it into smart
Yeah, there
investments.
is an interesting saying I remember from. I don't remember where I heard it from,
Mhm,
but the saying was the easiest way to convince your enemy about a foregone conclusion is have them convince themselves.
mhm.
And I think those are words of wisdom that he generally wanted to try and deliver for some of this,
Yeah.
because a
Now,
lot of people that his organization recruited came to the conclusions on their own.
yeah,
He may have guided a little bit, but the
yeah.
foregone conclusion was all on their own.
While he is responsible for creating what will find out later of the innovates later on, these were just humanoids he designed to help mankind. He designed them for to doing tasks humans can't to help lead the peace. But everyone else in Celestial Being is pretty much there because they match the profile of I'm sick and tired of war. I want to do something besides kill people. an agent celestial being will bump into you going, hey, we can end this.
Mm-hmm.
So he recruited brilliant engineers, brilliant warriors, tactical forecasters, and they joined his secret organization and have been hiding in the shadows for 200 years. They've had families in there. It's heavily implied, of course, that if you're born a celestial being, you have to die with celestial being. But it's also implied from the mangas and novel spin-offs that there are people who are part of celestial being that have never once done anything for it. Like, my dad is an engineer of celestial being. I don't want to fight. I just live here.
Hmm.
But at the start of the series, when the Gundams first show up, they would play a pre-recorded message of his. It's a pretty long speech he gives, but it basically, I'm just gonna try and read part of it right here because I really like it. Just gonna read a small section. As of this moment, I make this declaration to all humanity. Territory, religion, energy, no matter what the reason or excuse, if there is an evidence of an act of war being carried out, we will commence intervention with our force. Any country, organization, or corporation that promotes war will also be a legitimate target of our intervention. We simply call ourselves Celestial Being. We are an armed organization that was established to eliminate all acts of war from the world. And that's Celestial Being's creed.
Mm-hmm. That is the words that everything celestial being is built around.
Mm-hmm.
Whether for better or worse, that can be somewhat debatable.
Mm-hmm. I lean personally on the side of I get why you guys are doing this, but I don't think it would work in the real world.
No, there are multiple reasons why.
Now, emotionally, there are times I've seen atrocities worldwide and go, yeah, I would like Celestial Being to be a real thing. I mean, I would greatly enjoy them showing up and blowing up Putin right now.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've shown you all of the Gundam side of the world.
Hmm.
Let's step out into the wider world, starting with this guy.
This is Patrick Kolazar, the Invincible, or the
Otherwise, I like to
Indestructible.
call him the luckiest man alive.
Yeah, he really is. He's the only person who has like 10 fights at the end of the series with Gundams and walks away completely unharmed. Not just because the Gundam pods are avoiding cockpit damage, like even people who survive their fights end up hurt. He ends up just being able to immediately climb out his cockpit and scream at them.
Well, let's be fair. Like things grabbed onto him and self-destructed. He still survived.
Yeah, I think he, in another universe, would have grown up to be a Hero Yui clone.
Mm.
But
But
yes, before we talk about these characters, I wanted to mention the world itself.
oh, my apologies.
Earth is now split into three nations, super nations. There's the Union, which is made up of Canada, Japan, and what's that nation? Uh, North Mexico. That's the name of it. I get it. It's the U.S., Japan, and Canada, and a few other of the Americans are the Union.
Mm-hmm.
The EU, I believe, is referred to as the. It's called the AEU, the Advanced European Union. These are England, France, Spain, parts of Africa too, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and the Human Reform League, which is basically China and Russia and their neighbors.
Yeah.
Of the three of them, the Human Reform League is usually painted the worst. They're the one with the super soldier program.
Yeah.
The AEU is painted as the most incompetent, as they kind of steal designs from other people, while the Union is considered the more good, quote unquote, nation.
Couldn't tell you on that one.
Yeah, and the three nations are in a standoff. They are using three towers, massive solar collecting towers that actually go out of Earth's into Earth's outer orbit to gather solar energy to fuel the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
One of the main conflicts is we're no longer nations that existed to sell only fossil fuel don't have any political power anymore.
No.
We're on solar energy now, so these nations only had exports of fossil fuel, so they're fighting for whatever they can. And these three big nations are using this proxy wars to basically show, haha, we still have power, which is, to be fair, a thing we do to this day still.
Mm-hmm.
We have not just like stuff like the Korean War, the Vietnam War. Like wars are bad, but I have a real disdain for proxy wars.
But moving on.
Moving on.
So he just generally has the luckiest survival rate of anyone on this show.
Yeah, they actually do reference it. They make fun of it. They poke fun of it. In fact, at one point, one character actually insists on him piloting her ship, so she has a higher odds of living, and it actually kind of worked.
To be fair, he's a very cheerful fellow.
Oh my goodness gracious, this man is sunshine and rainbows. I mean, he has a short fuse. When he he gets mad really easily. But the rest of the time, he's just jokey and fun. And honestly, I wouldn't mind being his friend. I'd get tired of him, but I wouldn't be like, hey, once a week I'd call Patrick going, hey, you want to go for like a go get nachos?
Yeah, I just wouldn't want to follow him in the battle. Like this,
No,
not like I would have him in the platoon, but I don't want him as the leader.
no, he's not a very bright man, and
No.
he's actually fairly aware of it. He doesn't like he thinks he's the top ace pilot of the AU because he's had over 200 mock battles. Yeah, yeah, he's the guy who shows up, gets his ass handed to him for the very
This
first
is
episode.
actually one of my favorite characters.
This is another super soldier from the Human Reform League. This is Soma Pires.
She came out a little better than Aluya
A little, definitely a little.
because she also has another name, Maria.
Maria Parfait? Maria Parfait.
I kind of call her Maria Soma. Um,
Yeah. Soma is her battle hardened personality that was implanted. This is not a personality from stress. This is what the Human
mhm.
Reform League wanted to do. They wanted to make warriors, make them super strong, give them the quantum brainwave stuff, and then implant a loyal personality to the Human Reform
Yeah,
League.
that gets a little confusing with her as well.
Yeah, her original personality is in there. It's a sweet little girl inside her personality. Not a little girl, but the girl is sweeter and
Yeah,
acts smaller. Soma, she walks into a room, even though she's what, 4 foot something, is the biggest person in the room, and you know she can kick your ass.
yeah. To be
And
fair, it's
later on, she gets the ability to kind of switch between the two modes.
yeah. It feels kind of more like they're more of a single mind than Aluya was
Yes,
because they're uniquely aware of each other, but she never refers to them. Well, she
as
does
separate
refer to them
people.
as two separate people, but it doesn't really feel like two different people. Like it
She
does.
refers to them as two separate people for the ease of other people, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
Where Hallelujah and Allah refer to themselves as separate people, and it confuses people around.
Oh yeah. It feels more
But
like she's trying to separate her soldier warrior self from her.
yeah, she was brought into the field when the Gundam started being active because their machines were so much more advanced than the Human Reform League. The Human Reform League is like, okay, if we can't beat them with gear, let's beat them with pilots.
Mm-hmm.
It actually kind of works. She can
Yeah.
keep up fairly well with the Gundam pilots,
She
even with
also
clunky
has a
machines.
unique reaction with Alleluia.
Yeah,
Their
they have a
brainwaves
history.
kind of do sort of a feedback situation.
Ends up putting both of them in shock for a while. It also always puts Hallelujah in charge.
Mm-hmm. Whereas she has the military backing to get a special suit and
Yeah,
installation to prevent it. Alleluia does not.
no, the Meisters don't really have the means to do that at the time. I figured
One second.
sure.
You okay, Carmen?
Oh, puppy problems.
Sorry, Carmen's having a nightmare.
Oh, poor puppy.
Come here, girl. But
Oh, I see your eyes.
come here, girl. But
But yeah,
she definitely was one of the. She starts off the stoic super soldier that just pretty much obeys orders,
mm.
and
And if it,
she Jen. Then when she gets her Maria persona back, she swaps to it, but that doesn't happen till later.
yeah, you can immediately see the difference between the two of them. And so if you understand these spacesuits, she does eventually join
Mm-hmm.
Celestial Being to be with Alleluia because she named Alleluia. He was always 57 until she psychically gave him the name Alleluia, as in the glory of God, because
Mm-hmm.
he was the first super soldier who could talk to her mentally.
Yeah, she was actually originally had all her senses kind of blocked, sight, hearing,
Yeah,
all that,
yeah,
and she kept calling out, and Alu was the first person to actually be able to hear her.
yeah. So they have a very close bond, and it's ends up being a romantic
Mm-hmm.
relationship, and it's kind of sweet.
Yeah, I am going to jump a little bit of characters because I had this in the slightly different order, but my
Sure,
show, so there. Yeah.
yeah, that's fine.
This man is the reason that Soma had such character change.
This is so. This is Smirgov, also referred to as the Bear.
Mm-hmm.
Sergei, yeah, it's Sergei Smirnov, and he's an old soldier.
Mm-hmm. He is
He
what I would
actually,
like to refer to as a proper soldier.
yes, he does not let anyone get away with any bullshit around him,
Mm-hmm.
which is why later on in season two he's not promoted because he's too much along the lines of soldiers are to protect people and to keep the peace, and season two villains are like, no, we're here to conquer the world. You're just going to be a flunky for us.
Yeah, he understands that the government serves the people, the
Yeah,
soldiers serve the government, so therefore the soldiers serve the people.
yeah. While he is not happy with the idea of Celestial being destroying things like they are, he's also on the lines of able to relate to them slightly.
Mm-hmm. In fact,
He's lost.
Alleluia actually helps him save some innocent civilians,
Yeah,
which
and he had orders to capture the Gundam that did this, but he's like, no, we have civilians to rescue. As the sergeant of this mission, we're going to save these people. Don't chase the Gundam, you idiots.
mm-hmm. He also kind of reminds me of a saying I heard in one of the Halo movies. Your duty is to the mission. It is okay to use lives, but not waste them.
Mm-hmm.
And he generally does care for his men
Yep.
and Soma, but
Yeah.
he's not so disillusioned that he doesn't understand that there's going to be sacrifices in any war.
Yeah, he has a bad relationship with his son, but it really feels more like his son basically wants to be the perfect soldier and not like the real idea of a good soldier.
Well, the
His
problem
son,
is that when his wife was killed because he made a decision to protect the tech,
yeah,
the mechanics and stuff during a battle, it cost him his wife. And rather than try and talk to his son, I don't think he knew what words to use.
I don't think there were words to use.
No, but I think the lack of trying is what got to the son
Hmm.
because he didn't
And
try to
it feels,
apologize or
yeah,
explain things.
it feels like a natural rift to happen between father and son.
Mm-hmm. Especially with the loss of a loved one.
Yeah, they both have grief, they both have their own
Mm-hmm.
problems. And that's one of the things I do like about Double O is while I like the Gundam Meisters, a lot of the pilots from season one that are fighting them are a bit more interesting.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, the him and he even goes so far as to planning to adopt Soma.
He does technically do it on paper
Mm-hmm.
because he ends up caring for her so much because he sees what nobody else does
Mm-hmm. A child.
besides Alleluia, somebody who is not doing this of their own true volition. Now he does greatly respect her skills as a pilot,
Mm-hmm.
respect her as a soldier, and does bark orders at her when need be. But when not on the battlefield, he goes to dad.
Mm-hmm. He literally says when he first meet her that a child should not be on the battlefield.
Hmm.
I mean, he's not trying to insult her or anything, but in all technical terms, by age wise, she is a
Yeah,
child.
I get the
So,
real impression from when he first heard about the Human Reform League's Super Soldier program. He's like, "Oh, hey, this sounds like good idea for volunteers." You did what, the kids?
mm-hmm.
Like he's in no disillusion that he does not think the Human Reform League is perfect.
No, but at the same time, he also knows that if he just did nothing,
Hmm.
well, the only thing
More
time
is
changes is time passed on.
Yeah, he just knows by him being on the battlefield and him being command, he can at least make this battle go a little bit less uh,
Mm-hmm.
war criminal.
He's actually a very good strategist too.
Oh yeah, he actually is one of the few people who outsmarts the Gundam pilots. He never really does much combat wise to them. He does one clever thing in a fight with them,
Mm-hmm.
but then quickly finds out how underpowered his machine is compared to a Gundam.
Yeah, that
He
really
is the,
hurts.
he is the first person to touch a Gundam in combat, pretty much.
Yeah, he was also the first person to really see through Sumagiri's plans
Yeah,
the first
he's
time.
not the. Yeah, there's another character later on who outmaneuvers her almost
Mm-hmm.
constantly.
So remember he
During
said Ali was kind of seen
yeah,
as this
yeah,
was
this is
later on in getting a season two.
yeah, he was captured at the end of season one, returned to being Subject 57 in terms of being locked up in a dark room all by himself, and they just kept trying to get the Gundam secrets out of him, and he wouldn't give it.
Mm-hmm. I
The
should also
downs,
note at this current moment, thanks to certain events, Hallelujah is no longer talking to him.
yeah, he suffered actual brain trauma. He got hit in the head pretty damn hard.
Mm-hmm.
It also cut off his quantum brainwaves, so at this point he's just a human with slightly faster reaction times.
So
However, when Hallelujah comes back at the end of season 2, fun.
yeah.
He laughs.
Now this, I always called them graham crackers.
This is Graham Acre. This is the ace of the Union.
Mm-hmm.
He's a flag fighter. He's very dedicated to the flag machines.
A
He's
little
also
obsessive with that.
he's basically okay. Graham is a giant dork in my opinion. He's the best kind of dork though. He is probably the most skilled human in the entire franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Like the straight up human with no advantages, no upgrades, no later Deus Ex Machinas. He's just the most skilled pilot who's just a baseline human.
Yep.
The only person near his skill level are the lock-ons, who are both also plain Jane humans. Setsuna, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah,
But
that kind of gets cheating.
Graham is a nut for Japanese culture. He's a nut for cool robots. Graham is essentially every Gundam fanboy made into an epic pilot. He's also the closest to a Char in this series gets.
Yeah, and even that kind of falls off.
Yeah, Char, we'll talk about Char when we actually get to Gundam, but Char is very important to the Gundam franchise. But in this series, he got split into multiple people, like it happened a few other times.
Yeah. This is Mr.
It,
Bushido, no relation whatsoever.
please stop calling me that. Yeah, during season 1, he got a nasty scar, so he started wearing a mask. And because he went more weebish afterwards, people started calling him Mr. Bushido.
Yeah, he just kind of has a.
He really wants a gun.
He really wants to fight Setsuna in the double O.
Yeah, both of them are melee fighters by heart.
Yeah. But
So
he
they have
just kind of.
a lot of my favorite duels are with him.
The duels are fine, but his mental output for all this is just out the window.
Like I said, he's the average Gundam fan taken to an extreme.
Yeah,
And I
because
like that. I feel like that's a good way to poke fun at the fan base.
yeah, because he just after losing the sets in the final time, he contemplates suicide. I
He
think the
does.
term is like
He
seppuku.
does. I think he does use stuff good. I don't know if he does that because he's a weeb or because the show is originally made by Japanese.
Well, he
Hard to
did
say.
have a kendo master. I do know that
Yes.
much, so it may be a bit of both.
Yeah, it might be a bit of both.
So, but he even the samurai had a code for certain things, and it
Yeah.
feels like he was pushing the wrong ones
Yeah.
because.
But he does really want an honorable duel.
Mm-hmm. But he started off fine with trying to follow the mission, but at the point of losing his men and constantly
Yeah.
being defeated and left alive,
Yeah.
he kind of got mentally warped.
And it does make a little sense.
Mm-hmm. Like he makes a vow to his. I'll say this: at least he's trying to keep his word. I'll give him that one.
Yeah.
So
This is the last of the good guys on the wrong side, I want to say.
yeah.
This is Katagiri. She was Sumeragi's classmate in terms of technical forecasting.
Mm-hmm. And she's very good at it too.
I like to think she is smarter than Sumeragi. It's just for a long time, Sumeragi had better gear and better pilots to deal
And
with on her side.
Veda.
Yes. So eventually, when the three nations team up, she's put in charge of the plans for these groups.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's along the lines of, oh, these make a lot of sense. She's basically the reason why the AU stays in combat for so long, in my opinion.
Yeah, and she marries the idiot.
That's why he's so lucky. He falls in love with her instantaneously and does nothing besides trying to impress her. But not in the creepy way of stalking her. He just literally wants to impress her.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually ends up being like, don't keep following me. It's dangerous. Please stop. And he points out, I have survived the Gundam 6 times.
To
He's
be
like, I
fair,
don't.
I think that's the kind of person she needed. It's just someone that is not as serious as
Yeah.
she is.
So during the final mission, she basically says, you're not piloting a mobile suit. You're piloting my ship so I can get in close combat, so I can see what's going on.
You know
and
what
can
it
better
reminds me
forecast."
of?
What?
The Power Rangers SPD actors.
Oh my god, yes.
The nutball, the serious one.
Yeah, it works. It really works.
But speaking of nutcases,
Let me introduce you to, well, the fan base have called him Evil Amuro. This is Ribbons Almark.
the guy with Arnold's voice actor.
I think that was a really clever thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's the, well, quote unquote true villain. And yes, he has green hair.
And purple eyes.
Yeah. He is an innovate. He is a artificial created human who was supposed to help celestial being. He was the original pilot of the O Gundam, and upon seeing Sentinel worship his machine from the ground, it kind of went a little power mad.
Yeah, and he's also one of the things that are actually using quantum brainwaves.
Mm-hmm. See, quantum brainwaves are a really weird thing in this series. It's the Jedi powers or the new type powers of this space
I
opera.
also want to call it one of like the three MacGuffins of the show.
Yeah, it allows you to communicate with technology and other humans mentally.
Mm-hmm.
He
So
was
long as
born
they
with,
can receive quantum
yeah,
brainwaves like Alayuya, Soma,
yeah,
which almost classified as a Class C brainwave user, quantum brainwave user,
yeah. I know,
which
and
is
she's
raises
so
further
much.
questions because we don't get any further definition on that.
Yeah, in the long run, his brainwaves are so powerful that if there's another artificial body with no brain turned on yet, he can just transmit himself into it. So even killing Ribbons doesn't kill Ribbons.
Well, a portion of that is because he's linked to Veda.
Yeah, he eventually does hijack Veda and take complete control of it. Well, no, he takes control of like the first 20 levels of Veda's software, but level 21's untouchable to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how advanced Veda is. There's layers and layers of software.
It's convoluted.
It makes sense. It's got quantum computer. It's using several other. It's using almost all the computers in the world at once to help itself.
Mm-hmm. So he's kind of at the start. You think just basically
The
a
man servant.
manservant to this man.
Yeah, you think he's the pretty boy manservant to um. Let's call him Goldie because I can't remember his name and he's not that important.
Now he literally just shows up in a gold mech suit and then dies.
Yeah, he starts off trying to be like, I'll take control of celestial beings' advanced technology, and I'll also sell this advanced technology to the three nations, thus making myself the most powerful and important person in the world. And Rib is just like, I was just using you for your finances so I could get closer to Veda, so
Yeah,
bye.
I'd less like point out this weird thing about celestial being at this current moment. Thanks to that, celestial being
Mhm.
has a lot of backers,
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you
and
can't even,
that part makes sense to me. The
yeah.
part I'm kind of confused on is that all these backers all each have one voice and a vote. Unless
Mhm.
they all totally agree, they just ignore whatever's going on.
Yeah, they just tend to default automatically to Veda.
And I'm like, this sounds like a terrible idea to me.
It makes some sense because for 200 years, these secret families have been backing celestial beings. Basically, all right, son, now you're old enough. Time for me to let you join the secret shadow organization. It's very important, but also the supercomputer is very smart. And then the grandson joins, and the supercomputer is super smart. It's very important you listen to the supercomputer. And the great grandson. Yeah, the supercomputer always gets it right
Yeah, but still, unless
because
all of them all agree, it just defaults to whatever's going on. Like this still sounds like somewhat of a bad idea.
it is a bad idea. I think it's one of the few flaws Shenberg's plan was because let's face it, so old rich money always leads to lazy people who think they're smarter than everyone else around them.
Fair point.
So if they don't even have to think and just let a supercomputer think for them,
I mean, to be fair, they did try and show some good intentions with having other voices involved in it instead of just always trying to rely on the computer. But
yes, what the backup ended up being useless.
yeah. In
Again,
fact, thanks to the
that's
backup, this is how portions of it even started.
yep. He's the one who made the Trinities. He's the one who funds certain things, and he at the end of the season one gets into a giant fancy solid gold looking like mech and declares himself he's going to be king of the world, and Sensei just cuts him apart because Ribbons cuts him off from some technical support, but Sensei was going to kick his ass anyway.
Yeah.
But Ribbons was literally just using him to get to Veda.
So, one other
It
little
does
secret that was
lead,
going on here.
yeah.
Behind that wall there with the glowing green orbs was
Shenberg's body plug of
thank
Futurama.
you, Shenbricks. I couldn't think of the name.
He'd frozen himself to wait for the actual peace or peace in humanity, and when Ribbons kills him because Ribbon hates him because technically he's the only person Ribbon has to serve.
It wasn't
It
Ribbons. It was the other guy.
Oh, is the other guy?
Yeah,
Okay.
he wanted to be in charge and thought by killing
Yeah.
Shenberg that he would get that control.
No, it made Veda put more locks down.
Yeah.
Hence why Ribbons can't get to all the data levels.
Mm-hmm.
It
Because
also
Ribbons,
unlocks something really cool for the Gundams, but we'll talk about when we get to the Gundams.
yeah, because Ribbons opened up lock number 6, and the door opened, and that's where they saw the body. And what's his name walks over, wanted full control, and to make sure that Shenberg couldn't come back out of it, and just broke the capsule with the gun.
Mm,
So, yeah, there's more of those. What were they called?
yeah. Innovates. They refer to
Innovates.
themselves as innovators, but that's a thing they're stealing.
Mm-hmm. We'll discuss that in
Inno-
a moment.
innovators are basically the biggest Deus Ex Machina of the series.
Mm-hmm. There is one, two, three, four, five, six.
Six right now, but eventually Ribbon starts producing more and more as his elite guards and his elite
Yeah, I
assassins.
remember that there should be two more because there's the Gundam pilot,
Yep,
and then there's one more that had the purple hair like he does. That's
yep.
not shown here, but
And there's the two pinkies who aren't here
yeah, it
yet.
always feels like they're made in pairs.
Yes, they are kind of made in pairs. They're made from the same DNA set, and how they can differentiate with each other is basically how they dress and what gender they identify as,
Mm-hmm. And hair
which is
color.
pretty progressive.
Too bad they're all mostly insane for the most part.
Yeah, that's the downside.
But
But eventually we do beat more good ones.
yeah, and he can pilot a Gundam.
Well, yeah. Later on, he gets his own specialized Gundam, and he's so obsessed with being in charge of celestial beings' powers that he still uses a Gundam Meister style pilot
Mm-hmm.
suit. Everyone else uses a special the military suits. He uses one because his ego is just
Yeah,
his
if
ego.
it wasn't for his ego, he probably would have won.
Yes, definitely.
Now, for the nutcase of all nutcases in the show.
This is the man who twisted Setsuna to being a killer. This is the man who runs mercenary organizations around the world. This is the man who war is his business, but mostly his pleasure. Ali Al Sanchez. Most Gundam fans agree that this is the most heinous monster ever created in the Gundam franchise.
Hey, I can have some jollies killing you. I'm gonna kill you. Hey, I can have you kill somebody and have my jollies. I'm gonna have you kill them.
He pulls a reverse Bison, as in he remembers almost every monstrosity he's done
Mm-hmm.
because it brings him pleasure. Also, he's voiced by Scott McNeil in the English dub, and Scott is having a blast being this much of a madman.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand having fun acting this, but
I mean, Scott McNeil. Scott McNeil's great in almost every movie he does.
yeah,
But overall, oh, yeah, I really do think I think he's a berserk character put into a Gundam universe.
yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, picture him in command of a mercenary band in Berserk. How disgusting would that be?
Yeah, again, I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
In fact, can we get a branch sacrifice on him?
yeah. That would be a very good idea.
I mean, it's not like
Actually,
humanity would be losing anything on that end.
yeah, yeah.
But
He ends up becoming one of Ribbon's elites because he's just so good, and he steals one of the Throne Gundams. That's how much of a good pilot he is.
yeah, I give credit where
And though
credit is due. He is well trained for military combat and mobile suit combat.
he's also a tactician, he's very well rounded. He's probably the most well rounded pilot in the entire franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And when he gets more advanced technology, it goes right to his head.
Yeah, well, it goes right to his head for a reason because he can actually
He's
use it.
also he can't identify Setsuna, but he can identify Setsuna was trained by him.
Mm-hmm.
And he likes to call him Crucis boy, was the nation Setsuna's from is Crucis.
Yeah, I mean,
And he does get his own Gundam, and he is one of the pieces of Char in the series. He's the guy who uses red machines and is obsessed with
Mm-hmm.
the red suits and being fast.
I mean, just look at that face.
And he is the guy who gets Lock-On killed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, does this look like the face of the same person?
No.
I
He
mean,
also
Lockon's
remembers,
pissed off because this is the reason his family's dead, but this is not the face
and
of the same person.
again, Alial remembers, oh, hey, you were a victim of one of my bombings in Ireland? Oh, that was so much fun. Did I kill anyone in your family? Oh, please tell me I killed someone in your family.
Oh, please tell me I
And
killed all of them.
later on when he fights Lock-On too, oh, you're the pilot of that sniper unit? Oh, he was so much fun to kill.
Now, we do have two others that get roped up in all of this.
Yeah.
This
Body
is
Cross. Yeah, Saji Crossroad, he's just a normal kid in the Union.
Hmm.
Just a
With the
normal high
most
school kid.
ironic last name for this show.
Very fitting for the show. He ends up Setsuna has to go undercover a few times, so he ends up getting an apartment in the Union, and he ends up being Saji's neighbor. They
Hmm.
bump into each other. It's more along the lines of, huh, he's bumping into the main character. What a coincidence. He gets to show us the average human of this world.
Now, unfortunately for him, his sister is a reporter who starts investigating
Shenberg,
celestial
she recognized.
being, which leads her to investigate.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I keep forgetting his name, and I can't. I like
Shenberg.
Shenberg, and she runs into Captain Crazy Pants, the murderer.
Yeah, and he's covering up government secrets, one of them being Shenberg's connection to things. He's not a member of Celestial Being, he's just covering up a government
Hmm.
conspiracy because he's a hired mercenary and they don't care who they
Mostly
hire
anything with the Shenberg connection is what the government's trying to cover up so that they can keep it under wraps.
because they're still using a lot of Shenberg technology. Like
Hmm.
the solar power they're using to this day is thanks to Shenberg.
So
So,
he keeps her quiet.
I
So
murdered her in a dark alley.
yeah, so that's one major loss for him.
Yeah, the worst part about Captain Crazy is he can appear completely sane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's charismatic enough to convince children to kill their parents. So poor Kasaji gets roped into a lot of shit.
yeah, one thing is that he gets kind of. I wouldn't say at the first mission he kind of gets forced into it working with
Yeah,
Celestial Being.
yeah. What ends up happening is after Celestial Being is defeated, the world government kind of coalesces, and they decide, you know what, we should give the military a lot of power and less oversight.
Yeah.
And because Saji bumped into someone who was not a terror, was a rebel, he got considered, oh, you must be a friend of rebel. Throw him in the concentration camp with no proof, no evidence, and later Setsuna accidentally rescues him.
And what really convinces him to help Celestial Being is that he gets taken to a rebel base.
Mm-hmm.
And while fleeing, because he doesn't want to get involved in it, I don't blame him entirely on that one.
Yeah.
He gets captured by the what group was Sergey with?
Um, Alas, I believe it's called.
No, no, not the A-Laws. The one Sergey's with the of the Three
Oh,
Nations,
just the Union.
the
It's
Union.
not the Union, not the Union. Just the Federation, I think it's called at that point.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, Sergey's group was the first one to pick him up. I don't know,
Yeah.
but so Sergey tries to listen to him. One of Sergey's underlings reported to the higher ups.
Yeah, Earthsphere Federation it's
Hmm.
called.
So that's where they find out where the rebels' resistance is, and the resistance there has kids.
Yeah.
So the military, not even scoping out, just decides instantly to launch the automatons at them on kill.
Mm,
And this is where Crossroads kind of learns that his actions have consequences, whether intentional or not.
yeah.
And that is another huge burden of grief that he carries with him that he's trying to make right.
Hmm.
So, in order to try and make it right for them, he helps out Celestial Being.
He never really fully commits to their cause, but he does commit to stopping the ALOS, the out of control branch of the military that did this
Mm-hmm.
shit. Also, he joins for another really important reason. We're going to discuss her right now. This is Luis Haravi, heir to the Haravi family. They're a military industrial complex family.
Mm-hmm.
She's super rich. She is spending time in the Union as an exchange student. She befriends Saji Crossroads to the point where Saji tries to propose to her.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, he did so after the Trinities killed her family,
Yeah,
and
remember that wedding I was talking about? The crazy redhead shot at
yeah, she was going to a friend's wedding or a
her
family member
cousins.
cousin. That was thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Also, remember we said about the Trinity weapons being toxic?
Mm-hmm. She
It melts
loses
her
her left
hand.
hand
Yeah,
and is
yeah,
replaced by a cybernetic because I guess the contaminated GN particles,
yeah,
the radiation prevented her from regenerating her left
yeah.
hand.
They have regenerating technology in this world. They can regrow small body parts. They also have cybernetics as well. So several people are cyborgs. Ariel Sages, I believe, becomes a cyborg at the end of this season
Mm-hmm.
one.
And
Whatever he
also the
couldn't.
pilot was one.
Mm,
But
regard. Anyway, she goes through some terrible shit. Like she starts off as innocent, naive, kind of bubbly, but she really means well. She really wants to
mhm.
befriend Saji.
But unfortunately, after losing everything because of a Gundam attack,
She sees all Gundams the same, which
yeah,
it makes sense.
she kind of has a switch flip.
Yeah, she goes hardcore into a military mindset.
Now,
She uses her family's finances to get herself into some elite groups, and Ribbon starts experimenting on her with drugs and exposing her to special radiation to make a super soldier of his own design.
hmm now if you look really closely, blue eyes, yellow eyes, blue eyes, yellow eyes. This is not a mistake. This
Yeah,
is actually heavily story related.
she is becoming a true innovator. Well, true in a loose sense.
Yeah, well, at least truer than the Innovades.
Yes. Also, this is her finding out that Saji's working for Celestial Being.
She took it well.
Die, die, die.
She also cut her hair.
Yeah, it makes sense. She went through a character change. So her story is a real big tragedy, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, her and Asaji end up becoming star-crossed lovers. It's kind of tragic
Yeah.
in the best, in the grand space opera kind of way. Tragic.
So this, speaking of the Innovators, this is where things kind of go MacGuffin on the
Yeah,
entire series.
this is where we get the most homages to the original Gundam series. Rather than new types, we have innovators. Setsuna is the first true innovator. Due
Mm-hmm.
to his heavy exposure to a special type of GN fields, he ends up mutating.
I think
The
it's a cross of the contaminated and the true ones
mm,
because he was also contaminated and shot with a bullet.
yes, it's also
So,
due to his mindset as
mm-hmm.
well. It helps him. Setsuna. This is what Shenberg wanted. He wanted everyone to reach this stage like Setsuna, so that hey, we don't really need to have conflict anymore. We can just like, oh, I can feel what my neighbor is feeling right now. Oh, I didn't know their cat died. Oh, I feel terrible. I should do something nice for them.
Mm-hmm. The only problem I have with this is that it's a lot like how new types are.
Mm.
There's a lot left to
The
interpret.
individuals, yeah, I'm fine with that in small doses.
Yeah. But the problem is that they've already introduced quantum brainwaves with the super soldiers.
Yeah,
They called Soma a class C, but without a scope of understanding, that means jack all.
yeah. Okay, she's pretty powerful as a C, and he's more powerful than her, but I still don't like. It's basically the same problem we have with Parallel and Dragon Ball Z. Attaching numbers or grades to things does help in the short run, but in the long run, you end up going like, this means nothing.
Well, at least with the Dragon Ball Z, at least I'll give that. We understand the numbers were supposed to mean strength.
Yes,
So the higher the number, the more damage they can do.
yes.
Here, it just kind of feels like you're just slapping a letter there just to try and show something that means literally nothing at that point.
Mhm.
Because, yeah, you can feel out what your opponent's going to do. You can do other things with your machine working right. But for all we know, the Class C could do the same thing with the right situation. So, what advantage does a higher grade have? So, that's kind of where I'm questioning things because you show us there's a system to it. And I understand that Soma's not going to be a trueborn because she's augmented, but
Mhm.
does that have a difference? Does it because they at least explain with original the difference between new type and cyber new types. This they already started experimenting with the quantum brainwaves. Does that have a difference because they're experimenting with it? Could she become one
Mhm.
faster? Could she become one at all? There's
Mhm.
I'm just saying like they have no answers for that, and they just kind of shove it to the side and don't give a shit.
Yep,
But this is what we're supposed to be progressing towards.
yep,
Like I get with the new types, in the original that's where they're progressing anyway because it's space travel and other things. But
yes.
this one you're saying this is what we're aiming for. but the conditions for it are so out there right now. We only have one,
Mhm.
so
It's I get what they're going for, but they could have done it a better way.
yeah, I think this is one of the ways that it just kind of
Yeah.
dropped the ball on itself.
As I'm okay with it, it doesn't bother me as much, but I really can't really defend how
Yeah.
they executed it.
Now we're gonna get into the fun part of this show.
Yeah. The part where you that makes Gundam kind of a double-edged sword in a lot of people's opinion, like war is bad, yes, but why did you have to package it in such cool robots?
Yeah, the one thing everybody loves about this show, the
Yeah, pretty
cool
much.
robots that go pew pew.
Actually, there's a lot of people I know who can't stand Gundam because of the robots, but then again, I'm the person who can't stand Attack on Titans because of the hip mounted things.
These are
People are different. Your
now.
suspension of disbelief only goes so far.
Now
This
remember,
is the final machine Luis gets.
it's a
It's what's
transformer.
it's referred to as called a mobile armor. In Gundam, the suits are small, mobile armors are giant things, are bigger than armors, and they usually don't have humanoid forms. This one's a transformer. It does have a humanoid form, and it's one of my favorite machines in this
Yeah,
series.
this is it in its flight mode, is what I like to call it when they're in their more like a ship mode.
Yeah,
It just feels like this is just made for them to get from point A to point B faster.
yeah, and the little orb thing in its hand can fire energy beams, and the fingers themselves also are rockets. It is very, very fun.
And very, very big.
Yes,
That's a Gundam torso right there.
that is specifically the Gundam that killed her family. That's Nina's machine, and
And
this is
despite
one of the
getting her revenge, she calls off her parents to praise her.
it is heartbreaking. She goes back to talking in a third person like she did as a teenager. She asks for Mama and Papa's appraisal, and
It kind of drives on the point that just because you get your revenge,
yeah, it's hollow and pointless. The Regent, this thing's called.
but it also kind of points out that there's a difference between vengeance and justice.
And it also points out that how heartless Ribbons is, because at this point, Nina is also working for Ribbons,
Yeah.
in a sense. This is the Arch Gundam. This was the stolen. This is on a set machine. He stole it from the thrones, and Ribbons upgraded it for him. It is a close range fighter with some long range capabilities. Yeah, it's a Buster sort of gave it. It is
Yeah,
pretty cool
Dragon
looking.
Slayer's better.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that. Also, you'll notice that if the particles off it are red, that means even when it's been upgraded, Sanchez still uses the highly toxic reaction. Just to show you that even though he just wants to twist the knife in people.
Oh yeah. So now we
This
have.
is
Yeah,
this
go
is
ahead.
Nina's machine. What it was originally versus the Thrones. The Thrones versus the first generation of mobile suits given to the world that are powered by GN drives. The Jins, they're called. The Jinxes? Jinxes, that's what it's called.
Okay.
Sorry. Jins
So
is a different machine.
pretty much what happens is about halfway near the end for season one, the governments are giving the pseudo GN drives
With the
and solar
specialized
reactors.
machines, solar reactors designed for them.
So they
And
start catching up to the Gundams.
yeah,
Not quite there, but sufficiently enough that with the right pilots and enough numbers.
yeah, and they have the numbers. There's 4 Gundam pilots and
Well, even if you
a
count the
lot.
3 thrones, that's 7.
Yeah,
So, and then I think each nation receives like 30 units each.
it was either 10 or 30 each.
Yeah.
I think it was 30 in total.
But well, at least a decent number with the right pilots. Like I said,
Yeah,
they are
30, 30. So it's 30 of these machines, well, 29 of these machines versus the Gundam pods, plus one of the stolen thrones versus the Meisters. Because after the thrones get their asses handled by the Jins, they flee. Sanchez takes advantage of their fleeing, steals from the machines. He joins up with these 29 machines. The 30th was going to go to Graham. He had his flag customized instead with the GN drive.
and then you know what? You know what? When a nation gets something like this, they're gonna mass produce it.
Yeah. So this is the scene before Celestial Being gets her ass handed at the end of season 1.
And each one is
I,
armed with the pseudo solar reactor.
at this point, these are all toxic machines too, but they don't know that. Luckily, when they start mass producing, the governments will realize, these are kind of dangerous. Let's lower the output so they're less toxic. So the particles become orange instead.
Yeah, even after 200 years, they're still trying to catch up.
Yeah, it's 5 years differences. They do a lot in 5 years though,
Mm.
because they've got all three nations finally working together. So obviously they have the best minds in the world together.
So I just want to talk about these things because this is the worst of them all.
Oh yeah. Remember those specialized human clone-like things Ribbons makes? He decides to arm them in suicide machines.
Yeah, why use missiles
Uh,
when you can just throw people at the problem?
yeah, they're called trilobites, which makes sense. They do look a little bit like trilobites. This is the season one. This is the very first machine we do see in the show. It's an AU machine. Oh, I forget what it's called now.
I know it's called a flag, but
No, no, the flag is the Union. This one's
oh,
basically a knockoff of the flag.
okay. I'm always with
Graham
the
uses
shoulder
the.
wings and everything like that. I always keep thinking flag,
Oh, that's fine.
but
Can't what it's called
yeah.
now.
But this is like an early thing that get pretty much gets its ass handed to him
Yeah, this
instantly.
is Patrick is piloting it, and he doesn't last a minute against Sentinel's Gundam.
No,
It is hilarious. Enact. It's called an enact. That was the
okay.
name of
And then we're moving on to
it. This is the flag.
right. So, okay, so you see the very similarities. So
Yeah, that's why Graham basically calls it knockoff flag. Both of these machines can transform into flight modes for long distance flight, but they're not designed for combat. Graham is so skilled that he can actually handle the G forces of training back into
mhm.
human. It's called the Graham Special.
And pretty much he's got a beam, a melee weapon, and can
Well,
transform.
no, it has a railgun. Nobody has beam weapons till the Gundam show up.
Oh yeah, that's right. But it's got a ranged weapon, melee,
Yeah,
transforms from the flight mode, made for
yeah.
mass numbers.
It's Enact is also armed with a hand buzzsaw. Basically, it's a knife that vibrates like a buzzsaw does.
Yeah, it's never specifically said, but I don't know what energy source they actually use.
It's implied they're using solar batteries, but they're not to the level the GN drives are able to produce energy. The batteries are just batteries.
Mm.
This
Now,
is a Terran. This is what the Human Reform League uses.
mm-hmm.
So these are the three big machines of the world before the Gundam show up. You have a knockoff flag, a flag which is a high speed hit and run machine, and the Terran, which is, well, it's a tank.
Yeah, especially
I can
if
respect
it
it.
hunkers down, you got the knee thing that acts as an extra shield. There's two shoulder shields, and
That's a railgun.
yeah,
That's a
decent sized
true
railgun.
proper railgun.
I mean, it really feels like this is old technology.
Yeah. But this is modern at the time the show starts, and that's one of the things they wanted to point out between the difference between the Gundams and the rest
Mm-hmm.
of the world.
I mean, even their most updated suit when the Gundams appear is
Yeah, this is so much specialized
yeah,
Tyrion
this is
Tausi.
still laughably underprepared for a Gundam.
Yep. They'll show the better rifle though.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that design of the rifle.
Yeah, the rifle's good. It just it almost has if you look at the thing over its shoulder, almost that uses for jet propulsion.
Yeah,
It
it does.
almost feels like steampunk in a
It
sense.
does. It does. It's got a really nice design.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like it could belong on the Ironblood Orphan universe.
Yeah, it really could. But it like I said, it just has that nice steam, like the head, the back, and everything. Like it just feels very steampunk to me.
Yeah.
Now
But
this
now we get to the
beauty,
Gundams. This is Gundam Exia, the first Gundam we see in the show, the poster suit of the show, and I'm just gonna say this: it's one of my favorite names for this scene. Exia
I
just
do
rolls off the
like the
tongue.
arm blade.
Yes, it also has a handgun in the shield.
I think
Shield.
it's also got two energy blades.
Yes, they're hitting on the hip, on the back.
Mm-hmm.
It has two beam throwing daggers, two beam swords, and when this thing shows up, it just glides down, and it's my favorite animation in the Gundam franchise. Is how the mobile suits work in this
Yeah.
series. The way the GN drives work is it just basically turns physics off in a sense. You just float. Everything else has heft and weight and bop to it to show that it's old and clunky, and
Mm-hmm.
these things just smooth on in.
And it's a good way to show at the start that this is where their technology is.
Mm.
So Yeah, and plus beam weapons are kind of a thing.
Yeah. As everyone's still using like vibrating metal weapons, a clean cut like that is impossible. You can actually see the heads on the ground there. In fact, you can see when the throwing daggers is still poking out one of them on the right.
Yeah, and the left, right there.
Oh yeah, it is. I didn't notice that one.
I
Also,
just saw
since
it
it has
now. So you
two,
just look at it, look to the right and
yeah,
left.
since it has two hit blades on it, a size a short and a long one. So the XE is also referred to as the seven sword machine,
Mm-hmm.
which I like the name of it. But this is the Dynamis. This is Lockhon's machine. This is the sniper unit.
Mm-hmm.
It's got big, heavy armor for the front in case it gets attacked. It has missiles hidden around the red crotch thing. That's right. The missiles can pull out and fire forward from the crotch.
And this is what it looks like when it opens up.
As you can see, the headpiece is lowered so the sniper scope is visible. But I love the design of this beam
Mm-hmm.
sniper rifle.
It's an anti. It really just looks like an anti-material rifle.
And considering it's a beam shot, that really does sound anti-material.
Yeah.
I don't know if I include the image, but there's an upgrade for the Dynamis, which lets it snipe into space.
Unfortunately, they really did to replace this thing.
Oh, yeah. When Lock-On loses to Alias Sanchez, he takes the rifle and tries to fire it without the rest of the machine, and Sanchez destroys the rifle he's standing on. And that's all that's left of the Dynamis, with little Haro inside, waiting for Lock-On to come home. This is the Kyrios. This is Alleluia's machine.
Also, the only one of the Gundams that can transform into a ship.
I just love that bit of teamwork.
Hey,
Hey, hey, I can't really fly while sniping. I can fly without it while doing anything.
but yeah, this thing is the only one of the four that can transform like this.
Mhm. And they do take advantage of it. It also does. It gets a uh, missile launcher attached to the back, so it flies over far as missiles and
And it has a unique weapon.
pinchy, 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 pinchy. Oh, that doesn't look so dangerous.
You want to say that again?
All right, that's what cockpit is. That's Hallelujah having his fun.
Yeah, I think this is more along the lines. I don't think that's a laser sword
No,
blade. I
that's a
think it.
metal sword.
Yeah,
That's a metal vibrating sword
yeah, it was vibrating. That
that's
was it.
slowly Hallelujah stabbed into the guy. It's
Mm-hmm.
designed to just spring out and stab a guy, but Hallelujah is just holding it back and just inching it in.
Yeah, that sounds right. Let's move on.
This is the Virtue.
This thing is a tank.
This is Terrier's machine. Now, remember we said everyone else tends to avoid hitting people's vital spots? Um, well, that's an energy bazooka.
Yeah, and then he's also got
And
these.
yeah, Terrier is overkill. He just melts shit.
I mean, uh, if you could do a non-killing shot with that, I'd give you lock on.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think Locke could do that.
But it does have one secret. There's a
Hmm.
little person inside of it
Inside, under all that bulky armor, is the Nautilus.
with fabulous hair.
They're supposed to be wires, but they obviously look like hair.
Yeah,
The
I.
Nautilus is the anti-traitor machine. It has something called the trial system, which turns off all Veda-related machines.
Mm-hmm.
The Thrones, the fellow Gundams. This is Terra's hidden surprise. Unfortunately, when Ribbon's kit is up there with Aoya's corpse, he cuts Terra off from the system,
Mm-hmm.
which causes Terra a massive shock because he's so obsessed with Veda because Veda made him. Being cut off from Veda is detrimental to his psyche.
Also believed Veda told him the entire plan. Yada yada. Veda has no secrets from him. Bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
It
it's
can
also
still
got no
use,
real long range weapons except what it takes from his old body.
which makes sense. It later on gets upgraded a little bit because its armor got damaged for the final fight, so it has a shield and a rifle, but it's not meant for combat.
No. But fortunately, we have upgrades.
Yep, this is the Seraphim
Seraphim?
Gundam. I think it's the Seraphim.
Yeah. Because I remember Seraphim sounds angelic like, and that's what I keep referencing this to for some reason.
Yes,
And no, you're not imagining things. Its chest does look like a Gundam face.
there's a reason behind that.
But this is pretty much a replacement for the
Nodley.
Nautilus.
The hands can fold back into the arms to be beam rifles.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason before that.
This is the replacement for.
The Virtue. This is the Sarah V.
Mm-hmm.
The Seraphim is on the back, so that's its arms over the shoulder, far adding extra beam break.
Now the
These
neat thing
two be
about this is that its knee compartments open up, and there's another set of hands there as well.
and also beam cannons there, and these two beam bazookas can combine with either the arms or combine with each other to fire huger shots.
And when it uses all 6 hands, it wields 6 lightsabers.
Yup.
I have no idea what you're referencing whatsoever.
Yes. Oh, it's awesome. It's also a little bit faster.
Yeah.
It has more rear thrusters.
Let you see where the other Gundam sits.
Yeah. So at any point, it can disattach, and the two can act independently of each other somewhat. But yeah, the Gundam face on the chest, which is now the back, can
Yeah,
open
it's
up
weird
to
like
this.
that.
Yeah, it's the most out there design for the series, but I kind of still like it.
It's not terrible. It's just different.
Weird. It's weird for not weirdness sake. This is the Arios, the replacement for the Kyrios. I much prefer this over the Kyrios. The Kyrios is my least favorite
You
of
chipped
the
my
Gundams.
helmet. Now you must die.
Pretty much, it's got a dual beam machine gun.
Mm-hmm. And
It actually looks good to fly.
yeah, I do think this is an appropriate upgrade.
Yeah, it also can still transform.
It's also still got the pinchy pinchy.
Yep. Only the pinchy only works as the flight mode because the pinchy part will open up and it has beam grips now, but we don't really see that.
And
Only
attached to it is the
GN Archer.
yes, the Archer. I was going to say something else, but I can't. But
Yeah, it's fine.
but they can hook up and increase power for one or the other.
And the Archer can fire the missiles and whatnot. We'll talk about the
And
Archer in a second.
yeah, so it's gotten improvements because it's now keeping up a lot better.
Yeah. I also want to use this image because the beam rifle is out of energy right now, so Hallelujah is smacking the enemy with the actual rifle. Hallelujah will use whatever he has to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, it's efficient.
I can respect that. But it also has one hidden surprise in it. I love the beam machine guns in the arms.
Yeah,
Reminds me of the Alex a lot.
yeah, it does actually.
If you know what the Alex is from the original Gundam franchise. I like surprise weapons. This is the GN Archer. It has two rifles it can hold in its hands, and this is Soma's machine when she joins the Celestial Being.
Mm-hmm.
Funny that the couple end up having machines that could dock with each other.
Oh my!
That no, that what I was going by is that definitely was not, you know, totally something they were always planning on doing. Like, what would happen if Setsuna brought back a girlfriend? Oh wait, he has a machine that docks as well. Okay, what happened to if? Oh wait, no, Tyria could have had someone pilot Seraphim. Well, he pilots the Seraphim.
But this is the Archer in its transformed state, which I still like.
This one does not have a GN drive. It has a
No.
GN battery, but when it docks with the Arios, it recharges.
Mm-hmm. Or it can give a temporary boost to
Yes.
because of the battery. It can help recharge it
Yeah. And this is the Chiridum,
with a
the
much better view of
replacement.
the camera.
Yeah, this is the replacement machine for
Lock on.
Lock-On's damaged Dynamis. So this is Lock-On 2's machine.
Yep. Much slimmer. I'll say that much.
Yes, I do like that. It's a little bit slimmer. I do miss the giant wing shields,
Mm-hmm.
but they're going for something different with this one.
The only thing I really don't like about it is I like the anti-material rifle design from the first one.
You see, this rifle actually can hinge, so rather than being just pure sniper mode, it has a machine gun mode. I like that idea, but it just does not look as cool as a sniper rifle.
No. But the shoulder pieces, there's 2 shoulder pieces for a shield, and I think there's 4 on the attached to the back that looks like a tail.
4 or 5.
Somewhere on that.
Yeah, well, they can come off and actually assist and blocking in space somewhat.
Which
I
is
don't know if
useful
they
when
ever
you're trying to
use-
snipe.
Oh, and the knee pads can come off too.
Oh, that's what where the other ones came from. That's what knees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it also has one of my favorite melee weapons in the franchise. We'll talk about in a second, but that's it sniping. You can see the helmet.
Oh,
the
that's what we
eyepiece
forgot
there,
to
too.
mention. One of the unique things the first one could do is it could attach onto a super sniper rifle.
No, I said that. We didn't show off the space sniper
Oh,
rifle.
I'm sorry, it cut off on my mic for that one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. But it
Yeah, this one this
just
one
in
doesn't.
case it got cut out from the saying, it attaches to a super sniper rifle and shoots from the
Yeah,
ground to space.
the thing we actually can notice between lock-ons is lock-on one is the better sniper. He's got more. He's actually oddly more patient, despite the fact he's quicker to anger. While lock-on two is much more close-range guns akimbo, but he can still snipe. He's just not as good of sniper as his brother
Mm-hmm.
was.
Speaking of guns akimbo,
This is my favorite one. These are B pistols that are also hatchets. The
yeah,
little
he
handles
definitely
can
feels
flip.
more rounded compared to the first lock on.
Yes.
But
So yeah, the little handles can flip down so they're proper chopping at motions. But
mm-hmm.
he does these great effect. They're my I don't these are my favorite dual weapons in the entire franchise.
Speaking of dual weapons,
Sets this replacement for the Exia is the Double O Gundam.
and a
That
very
is
good look at
Exia's
the
that's Exia's solar reactor and the original Gundam solar reactor powering one machine.
mm-hmm.
Hence Double O,
the only machine have two solar reactors.
which quickly ends up being not true. But the difference is the double. Everyone else has two that are powering them. The way the twin drive system works for the Double O is somehow it's squaring the power, which is more than two times if you know math. The actual drives are maneuverable on the shoulders.
Mm-hmm. And
For
plus, it's
both.
just a good this spot to show you what the solar engines look like.
Yeah,
And the GN particles is pretty much the green specks that are coming out of it.
which is the better color, the true color, and actually is beneficial to human health. Go figure.
And it's a lot more powerful with two anyway.
Yeah, so it has two swords that can turn to beam guns, which I usually like swords that can turn to guns. They're not as cool as hatchets that can turn to guns, though. This is the O riser. This is what Sachi ends up piling to help
Mm-hmm.
Celestial Being, because while the O riser is the double Gundam is powerful, it's having a problem properly squaring its energy because it's going all over the place. So
Because the
they
two
just
engines respect the two different machines, the synchronization between the two engines has been an issue.
it never goes above 70% unless Setsuna forces it, and it's not easy to force it in
No,
combat.
and it has severe drawbacks.
Mhm. So they designed the O riser to manually override that.
Mm-hmm. So it
O
ducks.
riser docking mode. O riser docking mode. There's a Haro inside the O riser just to assist with the docking
Mm-hmm.
procedure.
Just follow the glowing
Dock.
light, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Once together, it forms the Double O riser, which is my favorite Gundam of this franchise, of this series.
So
As you can see, the light is bigger and more concentrated. Also, there's a third trail, which is the O riser's original fuel tank. But because it's the Double O is squaring its energy, it's recharging the O riser's battery so
mm-hmm.
fast. Setsuna also gets upgraded later on with a big sword like he had before, only rather than a dinky pistol inside the sword, it's got a tri-barrel blaster.
It's also got a laser sword the size of a space station.
Yeah, the riser limit break is so good.
But overall, it's a nice design.
Yes,
And I
this
like
is
how at least it tries to protect the solar engines.
yes. There's also missile launchers now inside the wings, so
Mm-hmm.
it's got even more range.
I mean,
And the wings are still completely movable, so it can get out of the way of its weapons.
yep. So this is why he's driving the double O's, because
Yeah.
Xe is kind of kaputski.
During the end of season one, all the machines either got destroyed or were so heavily damaged that they had to might as well rebuild them.
Mm-hmm.
Setsuna got separated from the group after Alakan was dead. Hallelujah died, so Hallelujah got captured. Thierry was the only one to return to the ship, and Setsuna was lost.
Mm-hmm.
So he scraped together bits and pieces of the Exia and other machines. That's a Jin eyes in the Exia because it needs two eyes for cameras,
Mm-hmm.
and it's such a badass image.
I mean,
Like this,
you know
like
what
the
that makes me
Jin.
think of? Ironically,
Hmm.
Terminator movies.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going for. But basically, at this point, the Exia is outclassed by the standard Jins.
Mm.
The the Jin Mark II and Mark IIIs are technically more advanced machines than the Exia. Because
Exia
essentially,
has a
with
better engine, but the numbers and the designs of the Jins are just
yeah, the Jins can move better. Like while the Eka can go faster, its limbs can't move as fast.
mm-hmm.
Basically, when the United Nations became the Earth Federation, not only did they have the GN drives, they now had all the scientists they could want. So they just opened Pandora's box for technology.
yeah.
But
So
Setsuna can still kick ass because he's better than the average pilot.
yeah, one
And
of the
this is
things
the
about joining
machine.
Celestial Being is you get some really good training.
Yeah. Also, he is a better soldier because he's been doing it since he was 10.
Yeah.
Life experience is a good thing. It later gets fixed into the Exia Repair 2 with a brand new sword, which I like that, the green tint to that sword.
Yeah, it looks like he's gonna do some surgery.
Yeah, at one point he has to abandon the Double O Riser, so he puts the GN drive back in the Exia. And this is the O Gundam. This is the original Gundam that had its own GN drive. And
This
this
is
is
the
what
one.
that Setsuna ended up worshiping.
This is the one that Ribbons was piloting when.
Yeah, Ribbons was on a test field, so he went to a small battlefield and was ordered to kill everyone in sight just so they could get combat data.
And make sure there are no witnesses.
Hmm. He let Setsuna live because of Setsuna's awe at the machine.
Now you might notice something about the color scheme with this.
Hmm, very familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the joke of let's have Amuro's voice, Japanese voice actor voice, the bad guy. Oh, let's put him in a Gundam. Oh, let's make it look like the first Gundam. Yeah, it's supposed to look like the original Gundam, the RX-78 from the very first
I
series.
will say this: it clearly does look like an upgraded RX-78,
Yeah, I like
but for
that.
some reason, there's something about this design that I like better.
I can understand that, but the thing is, there's so many different versions of the RX-78 that I guarantee you there's another version you'll like.
Probably, but I just like the GN drive on the back,
Hmm.
the more designed head.
I don't like the shield as much. I think the 78 had a much better shield than uh,
Yeah,
this one did.
but I think it's just because it looks more bendable, like it was supposed to be. Like the original RX looked very blocky,
I was going for that, but I can understand that.
but I think just the general shape that makes it look more maneuverable is what I like about it.
Yeah. And I do think that this is a really good homage to Tomino's first series. Tomino didn't write Double O, don't get me wrong about that, but I think it's a good way to homage it.
But it does mean a grisly end.
Yeah.
That is Exeus 2's sword going right through it.
Mm.
So,
And the GN drive, which was supposed to be sacred for the social media, never damage them, make sure nobody takes them. But at that point, since I had no choice but destroy it.
so
Now,
remember Mr. Bushido?
yeah, this is his personalized machine at the end of the series. This is the Murasame with two beam swords. I do like the design of this machine so much, but there's just something off it about it I don't quite like. But it has two GN drives in its hips, so they're being charged here. There's also one on its back, so technically it's a three GN drive machine.
The weird thing here is that you can clearly see some of the samurai design touches
Yeah,
to it, which is,
which an anime I don't like totally stole the eyepiece for their main character sunglasses.
but it generally is a very sleek and
Yeah,
maneuverable flag. This is still a flag. He will
yeah,
not
it's a
abandon the flag.
there's even a flag headpiece underneath its helmet. So, small tangent. This is one of the very first imports I ever did. Is I imported a Japanese robot Damashi figure of the series, and an extra piece was underneath its helmet was the flag head. So at any point I can swap it for a flag head. I love stuff like that. But this is the upgrade it got, the Susanoo. This perfects the Murasame, in my opinion. I think the one tiny bit of red and all the white
It's a
just
very
works.
good contrast, I will say
Yeah.
that.
It also is given metal blades. Huh, wouldn't metal blades be a downgrade? Not in this franchise. They actually have an explanation for it. As these machines are capable of producing energy barriers, another energy attack won't go through it.
Not
but
as
a
easily,
metal
anyway.
but a metal blade coated in the same stuff, vibrating at the right frequency, will pass through easily and slice through an enemy machine much better.
Hmm.
This is using the more orange particles. It still looks kind of red at this point, but that's, I think, more about coloration mistake.
Plus, it could also be lighting, whatever, for
It
whatever you
is in
want.
space.
So,
Yeah,
light is a funny thing in space.
it is. But yeah, this is my personal favorite machine from Gundam, period. There's just something about the Susanoo I love.
And it does have energy weapons, so don't get it too wrong.
Yeah, it does have some range combat. It also can fire energy from its antennae, but
So,
it never did in the show. It's something that was written in the notes and only done in video games. But it did fire the Tribuster, I think it's called.
but he literally, I should say this: the reason he is so obsessed with Gundam at this point is because swore to his fallen comrades he would defeat a Gundam,
Yeah,
or
and he
pretty much
really
die
wants to
trying.
duel that. He really wants to duel that young man. Young man, we must duel. Young man, we must duel.
Like,
He never learned Setson's name, so he just called him young man.
yeah, he is full blown nuts at this point.
He sobers up after this point.
Now you might be
I love
wondering what this thing is.
uh, the gun cannon from the original Gundam.
It's this.
It's the back of the Reborn's Gundam. This is Ribbon's personal machine he designed.
Hmm.
It also uses a twin drive system, but it can't square for some reason. Maybe if I had those real GN drives, I'd be able to make my Reborn's Gundam even more powerful.
But it's not too shabby. I'll say that.
No, it has remote control weapons inside referred to as fangs, which is an homage to Amuro having fin funnels in his last machine.
I kind of like the name Fangs better.
I prefer fin funnels myself, but fangs is a damn close second.
And they're just trying to do the twin
Twin drive
drive.
system. Yeah.
I kind of like the fact that it has the orange blade too.
Yes.
But
It's just a, and this is from a box art for one of the model kits. I just had to use it because not only does it show off Exia's cool long sword, it's just dramatic lighting.
yeah, and the fangs look very nice. The thing I like about the
Mhm.
fangs is they're both close range and long range weapons.
Yeah,
But
that's the machines. So, yeah, let's talk about the little surprise Shenberg left in his Gundams. When he got shot, the final surprise went out to the pilots of the machines. For Veda unlocked the hidden power in the true Geon drives, Trans Am,
I
which
do like
according
how it first starts with the core glowing
which
and the little.
it wasn't until years later that Sol and Nem, our other friend, told me Trans Am's a type of car. Never heard it my entire life. To me, Trans Am is your machine goes red and goes 3 times faster. Why is it with Gundam 3 times faster and red?
Well, why do you think
Or
Char painted his suit red?
pink in the case of most machines.
But
But this was a badass scene. Like this happens when Sages has stolen a Gundam and he's trying to beat up Sezna, and he's winning because he's finally in a machine almost as powerful as the Exia.
mhm.
And Exia also just going 3 times faster, kicking the crap out of him.
Yeah, the one thing I do like about the Trans Am system, number one, you kind of have like a trail follow behind you just to show that you are moving so fast by the human perception.
Mhm.
And number two, it's limited.
Yeah, it's the GN particles from the drive is starts to fill the suit. After a certain density, you can release it all at once to make everything go faster. Once it's been released, though, you have to wait for it to build back up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the best part is even if you have only like 1 second of transcend speed, as soon as you have anything built up, you can use it. So you can like spam it. Not very efficient, but it means you don't have to wait before the tank is at 100% power. I hate mechanics like that.
Certain situations I could see where that would make more sense, but
Yes, I think that's why in video games I prefer mini shotguns in games because I don't have to wait the entire reload. I just have to put one clip, one slug in a fire.
clearly if you want to try to get as many in there as you can.
Yes, but I'm thinking more of Doom whenever I'm like, oh shit, I'm being swarmed. I
Fair
don't have
enough.
time to reload the entire thing.
I'm just saying
But
you want to try and get what you can in there, but I
yeah,
understand that if you get the one in there, you still should be able to shoot that one.
now Trans Am also boosts the entire system's power. You can see the shield bits from the uh, cherubim are also glowing, which means they move faster too. They also can fire more of their energy out at once.
Mm-hmm.
When, say, the Seraphim or the Virtue had gone Trans Am, it can release more energy from its shots, meaning its giant bazooka fire have tripled in size.
Pretty much.
Everything is more powerful. And this is Shenberg's crowning moment of engineering.
Oh, by the way,
Graham's best friend cracked the code. Graham's best friend, we didn't talk about, is Sumeraki's old boyfriend.
mm-hmm.
He cracked the code. This is something that was supposed to be nearly impossible, but he was so dedicated to one-upping the Gundams, just like his best friend was.
Mm-hmm.
The two
And
of
he
them
had his
put their
professor's help.
his late professor's help,
Yeah.
because the Thrones killed his professor, which is why he was so dedicated to stopping the Gundams. Essentially, the power of revenge and bromance allowed Billy Katagiri to crack the code to Trans Am, and he gave it to Graham. After Graham got it, Billy gave it to Ribbons.
Yeah. And the other thing about Graham is remember he's using 3 engines.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Now, there's another problem with his GN drive. The true GN drives don't run empty. The pseudo GN drives run empty after a while. And when they
So
run empty, they need to be replaced.
yeah. So pretty much once he.
So Trans Am for their machines is still more risky.
Now
But
for the final thing we'll talk about the glorious actual ships because remember there is a difference.
no, that's a chunk of the moon.
Yeah, 15 kilometers worth.
That's the celestial being. This is where Veda is stationed.
Mm-hmm.
That ring around the front is a giant laser cannon that can aim basically anywhere it wants.
And it
This
is a
becomes
big laser.
this was supposed to be Earth's mothership, or an arc for the New Ages, as this is also Ribbon's headquarters for the entire season 2. He
And
eventually disconnects it from the moon to deal with Celestial Being.
yeah. Speaking of celestial being,
This is their ship, the Ptolemaios.
yeah,
I hate this ship.
there's not a single weapon on it besides the
No,
Gundams.
eventually, like when a ship docks with it to supply the guns with more weapons, that has weapons. But the Ptolemaios is designed with no weapons because the Gundams are supposed to defend it. It also has no internal energy reactor. It gets powered by the Gundams being connected to it. This is so many design flaws. I don't even know where to start. It is cool launching bay though.
Yeah. You know what it kind of makes me think of?
Mm,
You ever seen Zoids?
yes, I love
Remember the
Zoids.
one that has it's like the giant snail and has that launch bay that opens up?
Yeah,
Kind of makes me
that's
think a little
classic.
bit like a space version of that.
Oh, and the four things on the circle are the Gundam housing units.
Mm-hmm.
So they rotate the one on top, then loads the Gundam and fires it forward.
Shooting
And
Gundams with a Magnum.
huh,
This is a unicorn,
no.
but it
After season 1, it got its ass handed. It got upgraded to the Ptolemaios 2,
with weapons.
which, yes, and we went from one of my least favorite Gundam ships ever to my favorite spaceship ever. I kid you not. Ptolemaios 2 is just my favorite spaceship in anything. Period. It's cooler than the Normandy. It's cooler than the Millennium
You
Falcon.
know
It's
what it looks
cooler
like it
than the
should be able to
Star
do?
Destroyers. Hmm?
Split into two different ships. Like this is the front half, the back half. It's split into two different ships for
I
better.
could see that as like an escape unit or something.
Mm-hmm.
While this one does not have a GN drive for its fuel, it has way more batteries,
Mm-hmm.
so it can act much more independent with the Gundams. It has weapons.
360,
It can enter and exit Earth's atmosphere on its own.
and it can Trans Am.
Yep.
Limited, but
When a Gundam is hooked up to it, it can act as its transam. It also can access its own transam from its batteries. But obviously, you wouldn't want to do that with your batteries.
no. But it's a good for emergencies. Better to have than
Yes. Yeah. One of the
so.
best scenes in this show is the Alas have built a giant space laser, and they're basically able to target and destroy anything on Earth or in space. And the Ptolemaios has to race along its track to get to it. And they use the Arios' transam to power the ship to go faster. They use the the Seraphim's transam to power a shot to damage the ship. And then they use the Cherubim's transam to take a sniper shot into the internal reactor of that space weapon, just so they can destroy it. While the Double O Riser has to defend the ship. It is so high energy. It's one of my favorite fights in the entire franchise.
Indeed.
But
And
yes, it
this is
has
a view of
missile.
the cockpit.
Yeah, this is the third bunny they get eventually. She's Ian's daughter. She's more of the personnel. She's the one in charge of making sure that the pilots are in good health.
Hmm. She also
While
does help with some of the programming and other stuff like
yeah,
that.
while Felt's more in charge of giving them data on the battlefield and data on the Gundam. Subaraki is now taken full control as ship captain, and Lassie has become ship pilot
He's a good pilot.
or helmsman, whichever term you prefer.
Yeah.
I believe pilot is used for spaceships, but it also can be used for like ferries.
I think helmsman is more when there's more people. I think pilot is when there's more like one or two people.
I think that's probably accurate. But this is the behind the scenes crew with Ian in the maintenance hangar screaming about the damage being done to his Gundams. He does not let them get away with shit sometimes.
Sparkle, sparkle.
Yeah, this is the GN field. It's used to A, protect the ship, B, allow the ship to enter Earth's atmosphere because, well, burning things up, and C, it can reflect light so the ship can become invisible to the naked eye.
It also jams radio signals.
That's just a general function of GN particles.
Well, no, I'm just saying that that's very important because they actually use that to try and locate it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Because I like what the
Yeah, that's a holdover from the Minovsky particles of Universal Century,
mhm.
which we should probably talk about the GN stuff now. GN is GN particles, which is where the Gundams get their name from. That's where Gundams originally came from. But now it means GN particles used by a lot of things that aren't just Gundams. But when the GN field particles are out and about, they let the Gundams float, and standard forms of communication like radios, cell phones, they become staticky. Which for the first few episodes is good. It lets the Gundams basically show up undetected.
And then the Sergei uses the radio signals
Yeah,
jamming.
he sends out probes basically. Okay, these probes stop communicating. There's a high chance the Gundams are here.
Mm-hmm. And he's right.
Yeah, he is.
And that because of that, they celestial
Their
being
biggest,
realizes that oh shit, they know where we are.
our big strength has now become our biggest weakness.
Mm-hmm. Because someone's smart enough to say if it goes one way, it can go the other.
And I do really like that of the show. Like nobody really feels like an idiot except for one character we haven't mentioned, who I think is the worst Gundam princess ever, and enough said about her as is.
Mm-hmm.
Unless Soul has an opinion of her.
If she had done more for her convictions, I think I would have liked it a little bit better. But
He sang a terrible song. It made peace.
yeah, I think that's kind of where.
It's ironic that my favorite Gundam princess is also known for her songs, but her songs aren't terrible.
Which one's that?
That's Lacus from Seed.
Ah, my
She
favorite
just
is Cordelia.
really.
Yeah,
I can respect that.
I mean she at least gets shit done. I mean she
Yes,
starts
yes, she
out
does.
kind of wishy
Naive, but
washy on it, but
her convictions never were wishy-washy.
yeah, and she at least kind of got her act together.
Yeah. Well,
But
enough about that. What is your biggest problem with Double O?
I think I said it previously. It's kind of the lack of definition with the quantum brainwaves.
Mm-hmm.
They're linked to the innovators
Mm-hmm.
because you're telling us that we're supposed to be worried about evolving into these psychic people, for lack of better terminology, because it's so broad.
Mm-hmm.
But we're already starting to work on that. So where is the line here? Are the super soldiers from this innovators or innovators in the making? Um,
Mm-hmm.
how did they make the quantum brainwaves? Is the like I understand they need to be vague to kind of make the story work,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they were a bit too vague. Like you previously brought up Dragon Ball Z with that. The power levels, at least you understand that this is their power. The higher the
Mm-hmm.
number, the more of a fighter they are. It's proven that they can increase or decrease that at will, which is why it was said that power levels are bullshit because they can kind of hide
Yeah.
or the numbers can be off. But there's a point to that. It's a demonstration of something. Here you're using a mechanic, but unlike with new types, they at least make the definition between the cyber new types, natural new type, and anything in between. Whereas with the innovators, there's not that much of a definition.
No.
And you're also supposed to be pointing out that everyone can go through this path, whereas new types, it's almost a random selection.
It kind of is.
So because it's a random selection with space types, you at least know that there's a bigger mystery about it. But because the series ends without much information with the innovators, you don't know if there could be another one, or if Setsuna was just a one-off that got lucky.
Yeah, we do find out in the movie, which we're not covering the movie this episode because that the movie belongs in Waste of Potential, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're also stretching this out a lot farther than I thought anyway. So
I'm not surprised, but for me, biggest flaw is sometimes I don't really care for what's going on with the Gundam pods and the princess. The princess, literally every time she's on screen, I want to scream at the screen.
mm,
I get that some people might like her, and I do like the idea of her. It's just she's just so poorly executed that I literally cannot enjoy her.
like I said, the problem with her is that while she does find her conviction, it doesn't really feel like a character growth. She just kind of follows along from point A to point B.
Yeah,
So I can understand where you're coming from, but
he literally feels like if you were removed from the story, nothing would have changed.
no. Like it's cute watching her get along with the kids, giving the kids hope and teaching them the song, stuff like that. But
Hmm.
if you remove all of that, it loses. Unlike, let's say, you remove Cordelia from Iron Blooded, a lot would change
The
from it.
story doesn't work.
Or
At
even
least
relieve Peacecraft from Wing Zero.
the first season doesn't work.
Now maybe the second season would work, but a lot would
Yeah,
change. So you have a princess character type that you could have just replaced with the blonde haired girl whose name I can't remember at the moment.
Louise. I feel like
Louise.
Louise should have been a Gundam
You could have
princess.
replaced her with Louise and still had the same story.
Hmm.
Now I get the point behind her to try and give Setsuna something else to live for because he does indeed need that,
But he could have easily had that with Feld.
or anyone really.
Yeah,
So, like he had probably got a lot of that from Lock-On's Ghost. So, again, making the princess somewhat pointless. You could have had her
yeah.
talk to him and talk about Lock-On or something like that to initiate the ghost, but
Hmm.
that never happened.
Honestly, I don't have a problem with the t- twin brother coming along.
Well, they at least showed it off before that became a thing. I mean,
It's a quick Easter egg. You blink and you'll miss it kind of thing, though.
yeah.
So I understand some people not liking that.
But at the same time, it does feel like it's kind of a
Yeah,
like if you got that feeling from it, I could not blame you. That it
yeah.
was
I mean,
just
we didn't cover this many difference between the two of them. I mean, Lyle is also a double agent for another organization, which Celestial being completely knows about and are taking advantage of him being a double agent,
I would.
which ends up being really good to the story. And he immediately does some things to piss people off so they know that I'm not my brother. Please don't compare to my brother. I like that. There's parts that we don't do enough with it, I find, because the focus of Double O, which I watched a review of it, and I can't help but think about this line that's in my head, is Double O is not does not care about the characters. He cares about the world. And there's no wrong way to tell a story.
No,
And I get it. Some people prefer character dramas, some people prefer world dramas. I kind of like them balanced, but at times Double O leans too much to the world and not enough to the characters.
yeah,
When
but
they do character stuff, it's good. I just want more of it. My biggest problem is the length of time we had with certain characters. Like, I wanted more time with Smirnoff.
oh yeah,
His end in the story pissed the fuck out of me. It's supposed
yeah.
to. It's supposed to.
I mean, when your own son kills you,
Yeah.
and yeah, that did kind of set off a mental bomb with Soma too. So
I don't blame her.
no, I do not blame her at all. But
But one of the themes I do like about the show is it tells you how pointless and stupid revenge is, but it also doesn't do enough with that. But
it feels
I,
like it kind of feels like it stretches certain parts on and skips over too many things at the same
yeah.
time.
And there is the whole, this is supposed to be realistic, but at times the way the story ends does not feel like a realistic end of war. Again, that's just how stories work. You don't expect 100% realism out of it, but
No,
sometimes I do actually feel this is one of the more satisfying ends to a Gundam series, actually.
I can somewhat agree to that.
It's certainly more satisfying than the end of IO.
It, yeah,
Although that was the point of IBO's ending.
Yeah, there's a lot
We'll
of
get
things with IBO.
we'll get to IBO eventually because it's another show that belongs here on Semi Perfect.
Oh yeah.
But overall, I still think Double O is the best intro series Gundam. What do
I
you think?
it definitely does feel like something that would be an intro because it it gets everything right for the points of war, children, the child soldiers, philosophies.
Yeah.
There's no exact right or wrong. Um, but if you dive too deep into it, a lot of the flaws are glaring.
hmm
But you
It's
can say that
the
about any show, really. So I don't
Oh my
take
god,
that
yes.
too much
The
of
reason why
criticism.
I view this one so highly is it's a Gundam show I can quickly jump back into
Hmm.
without too much emotional baggage, which is sometimes something I want.
Yeah,
Like, don't get me wrong, I love IBO, but I am often not emotionally ready for IBO.
yeah. I agree with you. It's something to try and get someone started with. But
Yeah,
if they're looking for something to really dig their teeth into,
yes, I
I
do think
might
there
try
are.
something more like IBO or maybe even Wing Zero.
Yeah, Wing is a good one, but I know a lot of people don't like it because the original dub is clunky. I love that, but I grew up with it, so
Mm-hmm.
that's roasted. That's roasted
I'm just saying,
goggles.
if they're trying to dig their teeth into something, I would give them something else.
Yes,
But
I
if they're
do
just
think.
trying to get step their foot into the water, it's
Yeah,
a solid enough choice. Like
I
everything that it tries to
wish.
present, it presents solidly.
Yes. It doesn't do anything and doesn't really have any incompetent moments. It just doesn't have a lot of wow as much as other series do. But because it's consistently good, that's why it's so high in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I could agree with
Like
that.
I love Wing, but Wing has a lot of low points where I'm just like, why did that happen again?
Yeah.
And
Speaking of,
IBO
um,
was so okay. I
yeah,
rambled about
we've been
Gundam. I
rambling
agree.
on for quite a while. I think it's time, but we should say that next episode will not be a semi-perfect episode.
Yeah, we've been doing too much pause. I'm trying to get back to the
Yeah,
dark
next
side.
series will be a wasted potential. Oh, by the way, M, you
Yeah.
might want to check your jewel vault. I think somebody broke in again.
God damn bats. Wait, do I smell sour eggs?
Wait a minute. Where's the echidna? Was he on guard duty this time? I'll get the blue one. Anyway, this is your host Soul and your co-host M.
You all
We
take care now.
indeed have a good night.
And remember, cut out war.